Please take your seats. Good afternoon to all of you, and good afternoon to all those who have joined us online, and a very good afternoon to all those who are watching me live on the edenias YouTube channel. My dear aspirants, I hope all of you are in fine health and filled with the enthusiasm to learn ethics, integrity, and aptitude. On behalf of edenias, I extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you to this beautiful subject called ethics, integrity, and aptitude. Now, if you see, this subject can be the game changer as far as the civil services main written examination is concerned. For the next 2 months, we will be learning this subject, everything about it. And if you can successfully complete this journey with me, then I assure you that you will end up scoring more than 125 marks in GS paper 4. And that will almost be a guarantee for you if you do what I tell you to do and if you remain disciplined throughout these 2 months. Okay. Now, I know that at this moment, several kinds of questions must be popping up in your head. Like, what is this GS4 all about? Why is it introduced in the civil services examination? Is it really possible to score 125 plus in GS paper 4 as this man is claiming? Is it really possible to do that? And suppose say I am from engineering background or science background. I don't know how to raise philosophical arguments and defend them systematically. I have no idea. So am I a right person to talk to when sir is saying that you will be able to score more than 125 plus in GS paper 4. Now listen to this very carefully, my dear friends. See, there is a technique to every subject. And if we can crack that code, then it is very much possible to score more than 125 plus in GS paper 4. So what we will do today in this orientation class is, I will familiarize you with the ABC of the subject, and then at the end I will give you an opportunity to ask your questions. Those who are attending online, they can also note down the questions, and at the end I'll just answer those questions, put them into the chat box, and others also, those who are attending here in this hall, please note down your questions if there are any, and at the end I will address all of them. Okay. Now look here, the first thing that we must understand is that why was this subject after all introduced in the civil services main written examination? Are you all aware that it's a recent addition? It was only in the year 2013 when GS paper 4 was added as a separate paper in the scheme of the civil services main written examination and in the overall architecture of general studies. So why it was introduced, what was the need, and why only in 2013? Why not in 2012 or 2011 or 2014? Why only in 2013? And other related questions. So here I have brought a list of questions which we will try to address, and after that I will open space for your questions as well. Before we end this class, we will also learn the definition of ethics. Okay. So before that, let's try to address these questions. So these are some of the questions that I have brought here for all of you in the class. Why GS4 was introduced in the civil services examination? What was the background in which GS4 was introduced? Does the knowledge of ethics makes you an ethical person? What should be our approach while studying ethics? What kind of mind do we require to appreciate ethics? Is it correct to call GS4 as ethics, integrity, and aptitude? What are the sources from where the subject matter of GS4 is drawn? What is the syllabus of GS paper 4? We'll take a look at the pattern of GS paper 4 by pinning our attention to the previous 3 years question papers, and then the big question, the biggest of them all, is it really possible to score 125 plus in ethics? We'll try to address that with evidence. Okay, so let's start with the first question. Why was ethics introduced in the civil services examination? To understand this, you must understand how modern democracies operate. Modern democracies, they are based on some values, and one important value is to deliver public goods and public services, not only to those who have, but also and especially to those who do not have or cannot afford the services or the goods in open market. So public service delivery is one of the credentials of participative democratic government. Modern democracies focus on welfare and upliftment of citizens. And that can happen only when you provide quality services and on time. Got it? And if you see that in modern democratic arrangements, mostly these services are delivered with the help of an organized machinery called the administration, or sometimes it is also referred to as the bureaucracy. The civil services examination is conducted in the democracies to recruit civil services and diplomatic services officers. The main task of these officers is to uplift the level of living of ordinary citizens, or to elevate the standard of living of ordinary citizens by delivering quality services and public goods. Now just imagine if the civil servant is corrupt, if the civil servant has malicious intent while he is in the process of delivering services, then he will misuse his authority, he will abuse his office, and he will use it for his personal gains over public good. And that would be detrimental for any democracy. The civil servants, they are the backbone of administration. The civil servants, they are the policy framers and the executors. You know that the political class only gives the broad line of the policy and then declares the policy. But it is the civil servants who work on the nitty-gritty of every public policy, design it properly, and then execute it on ground. So policy designing as well as policy implementation is one of the important aspects of civil services. So just imagine that if the civil servant is motivated by not public spirit but something else, he is not here to help the people but to make some kind of gains by exploiting the resources that he has at his hand and the office that he is holding. It means abuse of authority and misappropriation of funds. That would be detrimental to a developing economy, especially like India. That's why the necessity of GS paper 4 in civil services examination stems from the necessity of ethics in civil services. Because without ethics, you cannot imagine civil services in a modern democratic setup which is designed for public welfare. Do you understand that? So this is the reason why GS paper 4 was introduced in the scheme of things. Now one more thing, you see that our moral growth and our moral degeneration, neither of that happen in one day. It is a continuous process. Do you understand that? So suppose you can justify something during the course of your preparation, something which is morally abhorrent, something that is morally despicable. You can justify that today. Then you will justify everything which is immoral even while you are in services. So the whole idea of introducing GS paper 4 in civil services main written examination is to nip the problem right in the bud, so that nobody can claim any kind of immunity that I am not aware about ethics. Do you understand that? That's why GS paper 4 was introduced. Well, there is a story also behind the introduction of GS paper 4. What happened? That in the early 2000s, the Union Public Service Commission, which is the recruiting authority for recommending civil servants, started receiving a large number of complaints. These complaints majorly came from Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration, which is Labasna, the various central government ministries and departments under those ministries, and the state governments. And these complaints, they said that, listen to this very carefully, they said that the civil servants, it means the IAS officers, the IPS officers, they lack ethics in general and administrative ethics in particular. Hence, they are ethically incompetent to serve the people and prone to corruption. And such kind of officers are an evil on the society. This is what UPSC started registering more or less these kind of complaints. So this is what I'm saying, that from Labasna, from central government departments and state departments, state government departments, complaints came about the officers, the conduct of the officers while they were performing their duty, IAS officers, IPS officers. And can you also understand this, that mostly if you ask an ordinary man that how is the police functioning in the society, and I don't have to answer that question, you know what kind of a response you will get from the ordinary person, the ordinary citizen, about the operation of the police services or the police department in general. But now, is it also not true that there are large number of morally upright officers who are working day in and day out for the upliftment of the people of the society? That's also true. But the general opinion about the services is that it is a den of corruption. It is a system which is designed to exploit the poor and gain the rich. It is a system which gives leeways to those who have the means of production. And it is a system which is harsh on those who do not have the money with them or do not have the power with them. This is the general perception. And these complaints which UPSC was registering right from the early 2000s came from Labasna, the central government and the state government. These complaints said that the IAS and the IPS officers, they are ethically incompetent, therefore they are not suitable to serve the society. Because in order to serve the society, you have to be ethically competent. You must have a compassionate heart. You must also be following the rule of law. All those kind of important things. And therefore, they are prone to corruption. This is what UPSC started registering, such kind of complaints. Then something happened in 2005. It's a ground-shaking year. This is the year when the Indian Parliament passed the Right to Information Act. Right to Information Act is the beginning of the era of open and transparent government in India. Open government or transparent government is a public administration movement which started in United States of America in the late 70s and early 80s. And it gained momentum in the 90s throughout the world. And India also started adopting the principles of good governance and transparent government. Open government, transparent government. It means that people now have the right to know about what is going on in the government, how the officers are operating, what is happening to the public files, all those kind of things. Okay. अब बहुत आसान हो गया था, जस्ट 10 रुपए खर्च करो और ये पता करो कि IAS ऑफिसर अपना काम कर रहे हैं या नहीं कर रहे हैं. So, open government or transparent government must be seen together with empowerment of the citizens with respect to government. Do you understand that? So, many enlightened citizens, they started filing RTI applications to check the progress of government work. Some of them also identified themselves as RTI activists. And this was the time of RTI activism. And when these RTI applications were filed, there were delays in the answer that was given to these RTI applications, or the answers revealed that how the government process is completely lethargic and it is controlled by an obsolete, redundant, bureaucratic method. That's why the people's work remains undone. रास्ते पे गड्ढे हैं, साफ पानी आता नहीं है, education is a problem, all those kind of things. So 2005, a ground-shaking year, which is showing that we have entered into the era of transparent government, and the complaints that UPSC was receiving, they were reverberated by the answers that were given or the delay in the answers of the RTI applications. Also in 2005, the government of India, it appointed the second Administrative Reforms Commission under the then Cabinet Minister, Mr. M. Veerappa Moily. He has served as the 7th Chief Minister of Karnataka, has also served in the Indian Union Cabinet as Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Minister of Power, as well as Minister of Corporate Affairs. The second Administrative Reforms Commission was given the task of studying public administration in India, and then suggesting reforms in public administration in order to improve the quality of public service delivery. Okay, so this second administrative reforms commission, it came out with 15 reports, and these reports were published in 3 years time from 2006 to 2009. 2005 is the year when the commission is being appointed. One report in the second administrative commission's 15 reports was the report of ethics in governance, which is specifically the fourth report of the second IAS. This also said that the officers who are serving India, they are very intelligent but not always very ethical, and therefore that was a big punch on the face of the society, which was assuming that the officers are there to help and improve their conditions of life. Are you understanding? So it's a grave situation. So first the complaints, then RTI replies, and then the commission's report. All these things are indicating that there is something which is malicious in the administrative setup. There is something which is bad in the bureaucracy. There is something which is deplorable, despicable, not healthy for any functional democracy. और उसके बाद गिरे दो बॉम्ब, and this came in the form of the CAG report. Mr. Vinod Rai, who served as the 11th Comptroller and Auditor General of India, 1972 batch Kerala cadre IAS officer, came up with two reports. The first one was on Commonwealth Games. India in 2010 hosted the Commonwealth Games. In fact, they were hosted in this city, in Delhi. The Khelgaon was prepared to host those games. The CAG report highlighted that during the hosting of the Commonwealth Games, 70,000 crores were misappropriated, and it filed a charge sheet, or it rather recommended the filing of a charge sheet against all those who are culpable. Do you understand that? Then investigations were launched, and it was found that a man no lesser than the rank of the Commonwealth Games Organizing Committee Chairman, Mr. Suresh Kalmat, is responsible for this misappropriation. ऐसा हुआ था कि जो एथलीट्स के लिए होटल बुक हुए थे, उन होटल्स में उनको नहीं जाने दिया गया और उनको कुछ मेक शिफ्ट रन डाउन काइंड ऑफ फैसिलिटीज में रखा गया. जो खाना उनके लिए प्रॉमिस किया गया था वो खाना नहीं दिया गया उनको. इवन की टिश्यू पेपर का बिल भी इतना इन्फ्लेट करके दिखाया गया, विच इज नॉट understandable to any kind of rational logical mind. Obviously, a charge sheet was filed against Kalmadi, and he was then booked under charges of corruption. The country was recovering from this. It also brought some kind of national shame, you can understand, because India was hosting athletes from all across the world. In 2010, as India was recovering from this, another CAG report came down as an atom bomb. And it said that this time, during the allocation of 2G spectrum licenses, there is some kind of quid pro quo between government of India ministers and some private companies. मतलब सीधे शब्दों में पैसे लेकर लाइसेंस दिया गया है. At this time, it was alleged that the sitting telecom minister, Mr. A. Raja, is responsible for this quid pro quo arrangement, this embezzlement of funds, this misappropriation of funds, this abuse of authority. CAG said that this has caused a total loss of 1,76,000 crores to the public exchequer. अगर इनको ऑक्शन किया जाता ठीक से तो फिर इतना और गेन होता, मतलब इतना पैसा और आता कंसोलिडेटेड फंड ऑफ इंडिया में. बट क्योंकि सिटिंग मिनिस्टर्स का कुछ क्विड प्रो क्यो चल रहा था विद द प्राइवेट कंपनीज, देयरफॉर दिस वाज द लॉस दैट द पब्लिक एक्सचेकर हैड टू फेस. मतलब जो लोगों का पैसा इतना मिलना चाहिए था लोगों को, वो नहीं मिला, बिकॉज द सिटिंग टेलीकॉम मिनिस्टर वाज शेकिंग हैंड्स with corruption deals. Do you understand that? Now, That case went into court and it took a turn. Some people claim that it is not 1,76,000 crore, but much lesser than that. Well, the figure does not matter here. It's a question of principle. Do you understand that? A sitting minister is holding public faith, he is holding public trust, and this is breach of public trust. So 2010 में ऐसे दो कैग की रिपोर्ट आ गई, ठीक है. And this time, when the telecom minister's name surfaced, there was large scale disappointment in the society. RTI एक्टिविस्ट ही पहले कंसर्न थे करप्शन को लेकर, बट अब लोगों को लगने लगा that wherever we go, whatever we do, wherever we put our hand, there is some corruption in the society. So the civil society came together under the leadership of a Gandhian leader called Anna Hazare, and they launched in 2011 the India Against Corruption movement. और इस इंडिया अगेंस्ट करप्शन मूवमेंट की डिमांड क्या थी? इसकी डिमांड थी that we want a national ombudsman and a state ombudsman. Ombudsman is an officer who looks into the cases of corruption. In order to Indianize it, we called it Lokpal and Lokayukt. Lokpal at the center and Lokayukt for the states. They prepared a draft bill and it was then deliberated, some changes were made, but by 2013 the Lokpal and Lokayukta Act was passed. By the way, you have to keep in mind that Lokpal and Lokayukt, they are not constitutional bodies, they are statutory bodies because they are prepared under an act of the parliament, Lokpal and Lokayukta Act 2013. When this Anna Hazare movement was going on, the entire country was filled with enthusiasm that something great is about to happen as far as public service delivery is concerned. We are entering truly into the era of open, transparent government, responsible government, accountable officers, ethical officers, dedicated round the clock for the development of the people. सारी चीजें hope थी लोगों की. And you can understand that those who are serving in government departments, they also come from the society. So they cannot remain insulated or isolated from the popular public perception that's going on in the country. तो क्या हुआ कि कुछ enlightened officers and junior officers, you can say, those who were in the know of things, they started leaking information about the wrongdoings that were happening in various government departments. These people came to be known as the whistleblowers. So the whistleblower is a person who is in the system and then out of his conscience or his call of a higher moral plane reveals information which he thinks or she thinks is that this action has been done to fulfill some kind of vested interest and not for public interest. And these kind of people, you tell me, do they require protection from the society or not? Yes. So that's why the whistleblower protection bill was introduced in the parliament in 2011, and by 2014 that became an act. So under this act, protection has been extended to the whistleblowers. Okay. Then what happened was, this thing was going on and people thought that the Lokpal and Lokayukta Act has been passed, the Whistleblower Protection Act has been passed, the RTI Act has been passed, all is well in India now. But then the CAG dropped one more report. This time it said that there has been some kind of coal block misappropriation. It means during 1993 to 2010, जितने भी coal blocks allocate किए गए थे, they were also done by compromising the procedure. So in 2012, another CAG report came and it said that this time the loss to exchequer is 1,45,000 crores. तो पहले 70,000 crore, 1,76,000 crore, 1,45,000 crore. तो आप सोच सकते हो कितना डिमोरलाइजिंग होगा ये किसी भी ऑर्डिनरी सिटीजन के लिए कि जिस दिन वो पेपर अपना शुरू करे पढ़ना और पहले ही ये लिखा रहे कि इतना पैसा खा गए, इतना पैसा उड़ा दिया. So this was a kind of discouragement to those who feel that there is a welfare state in place. There is a state established on the principles of justice and rule of law. उससे पहले क्या हुआ अगर आप देखेंगे, that in 2012 the Supreme Court cancelled the 2G spectrum licenses, remember, that were allocated, and asked the government to re-auction them. They were successfully re-auctioned in 2014. उसके बाद जैसे ये हो रहा था, साथ साथ में ये कोलगेट स्कैम आ गया. Actually, the scam is the misappropriation of funds with respect to allocation of coal blocks, and in media it came to be known as the Coalgate scam. Okay, तो ये सारी चीजें हो रही थी इंडिया में. And now you can understand why in 2013 only UPSC amended its main syllabus and introduced GS paper 4. Why not in 2012, 11 or 10? Because all these developments took place till 2012. UPSC said enough is enough. Now we have to check the officers right at the recruitment stage. And that's why the GS paper 4 was introduced in the overall scheme of things. चलो हम ये भी देख लेते हैं कि इंटरनेशनल सीन पे क्या हो रहा था, because international affairs also affect domestic policy at times. So you see that in 2006 there was a man called Julian Assange. In fact, he still exists. Julian Assange is an Australian computer programmer and activist. He launched a website called the WikiLeaks. It was established, or it operated from Iceland. Later on it shifted its office to Sweden when it was hunted by the authorities. The WikiLeaks website, it leaked some confidential information about US military, and it alleged through its files and through its documents and video and audio visuals or evidences that while the US Army was invading Afghanistan, Iraq and Syria, there were high collateral damages. What are collateral damages? These are the deaths caused to civilians during war. Now, collateral damage sometimes can be unavoidable. Sometimes it can be avoidable. In 2010, the WikiLeaks launched a video on their website which showed that the US military personnel who were in the Apache helicopter, which is a fighter jet, they were pinpointing and killing 12 civilians who were walking on the road in Iraq. And that stirred the common conscience. In fact, the Pentagon and US Justice Department, they became furious with Julian Assange, and they booked him under the Espionage Act of 1917, which was then again 1914, which was then again amended in 1970s, early 70s. Now, the Espionage Act says that you cannot declassify classified information without the permission of US military or Pentagon, which is the US military establishment. Do you understand that? और उसके बाद 12 साल तक ये आदमी इस देश से उस देश ऐसे घूमता रहा, and finally there was some kind of understanding between him and the US government, where the US government said that, okay, accept that you have indulged in espionage and we will give you the right to return to Australia. So that arrangement has been made. He is now in Australia and he has been released because he had already remained in detention, house arrest, etc. for a period of more than 14 years. So ये life imprisonment की तरह ही हो गया एक तरीके से. So this is one important development that happened in the international scene. The other important development happened in 2013 related to the Snowden revelations. Edward Joseph Snowden, a young man in his early 20s, he was a computer intelligence consultant and started working with the CIA, which is the Central Intelligence Agency. And while he was coordinating with the NSA file, NSA is the National Security Agency. These are two security agencies in USA. The primary difference is CIA is mostly involved in collecting human intelligence, whereas NSA collects intelligence through computer networks, or which is sometimes known as signals intelligence. So while he was working in the CIA as a computer consultant, he found that the US government is indulging into a global surveillance program. And in this, many IT companies, telecom companies are helping the US government. And world leaders, political leaders, industrial leaders, they are being watched all the time by Pentagon. What they are doing, where they are going, with whom they are talking, how money is coming into their bank accounts, how money is flowing out of the country, in the country. And this can be done because all the servers of these IT companies, they are located in United States of America. So you can understand, if that is the case, then it is a grave danger. It is a grave danger for everybody. Do you get it? And you know, what was more surprising was that even the German chancellor back then, Angela Merkel, she was not spared. US government was continuously watching what she is doing because they were fearing that Merkel is gravitating towards Putin. And the whole geopolitical policy of NATO has been to avoid an alliance between Germany and Russia. Because Germany and Russia, if they join hands together, they are huge military and economic powers. And they can combinedly challenge the dominance of Western Europe and North America. In fact, there is a very famous theory called the Heartland theory, which talks about it. Anyhow, coming back to the topic that I was saying. So Snowden, only 22-year-old at that time, he felt disgusted that how can my government do this to ordinary people and world political leaders? So he became a whistleblower and he blew the whistle and he said in press that the US government is undertaking a global surveillance program wherein it is constantly watching world leaders and industry leaders. That's why you see that it became a point of concern. Some people thought that Snowden is correct, whereas some people thought that he is not correct because he is violating the national security principles of United States of America. He was also booked like Assange under the Espionage Act and he was hunted by the US Pentagon. Kahin bhi jaiye, his initial plan was to go into Africa and then via South America come to Ecuador. But he was hunted by Pentagon in such a way that he had to flee towards Asia. And then finally in 2022, Russia gave him citizenship. आपको पता है कि ये रशिया ही कर सकता है ऐसे केस में. Russia gave him citizenship. He is now a naturalized citizen of Russian Federation. You understand that? So this was the background in which UPSC thought that now it is necessary to test the aspirants on the ground of ethics as well. क्योंकि हम ये तो देख ले रहे हैं कि इनको ज्योग्राफी भी आती है, इकोनॉमी भी आती है, पॉलिटी भी आती है, सब कुछ आती है, पर ये एथिकल है कि नहीं? बिकॉज अगर ये एथिकल नहीं है, so they will exploit the system for personal gain and they will abuse their power, and then the high ideals which are promised in the preamble to the Indian Constitution, justice, liberty, equality, fraternity, these will only become hollow declarations. Do you get it? So this is the background in which ethics was introduced. Did you understand that? Okay. So let's now try to understand that does the knowledge of ethics make a person ethical? क्योंकि यहाँ पे तो आपको बस knowledge ही टेस्ट किया जा रहा है. Ethics की जो अच्छे से prepare करेगा उसे 125 plus आ जाएंगे. But does the knowledge of ethics only make you an ethical person? Now look here. Let's take a classic case. An old woman trying to cross the road. And you have got 4 options. Okay. Option A, walk past the old woman. मतलब आप देखो कि वो बूढ़ी औरत क्रॉस करना चाह रही है, बस आप चले जाओ साइड से, कुछ भी मत करो. Second option, disrupt the traffic on the road to let the old woman cross the road. मतलब आप बिल्कुल रोड के बीच में आ जाओ, ट्रैफिक रोक दो, गाड़ियां रोक दो और फिर जो भी ओल्ड वुमेन है उनको हेल्प कर दो रोड क्रॉस करने की. थर्ड ऑप्शन, पुश द ओल्ड लेडी इन द मिडल ऑफ द रोड, कि देखने के लिए कि हाउ द इंपैक्ट लुक्स लाइक. एंड द फोर्थ ऑप्शन इज wait for the red signal and then assist the old woman in crossing the road by following all the traffic rules. All those who are supporting the D option, raise your hands. all those who are supporting the D option. It means everybody is doing that. Now I have a question for you. How many times have you actually done that? You might have seen so many people in different kinds of needs. How many times you have actually done that? So knowledge of ethics is no guarantee that you are ethical. समझ में आ रहा है? So then what is the need? What is the need of GS paper 4? अभी तो हमने प्रूव कर दिया ना इस थ्योरी को. GS पेपर 4 में समझ लो किसी एस्पिरेंट ने 140 स्कोर कर लिया, वैसे होता है, हुआ भी है, 140 स्कोर कर लिया, और अब आप सोच कर देखो कि वो एथिकल है ही नहीं, बट वो बहुत इंटेलिजेंट है, उसने सिलेबस को डिसिफर कर लिया, प्रिपरेशन स्ट्रेटेजी अपनी अच्छी बनाई, और बिल्कुल जैसे अभी आप लोगों ने डी ऑप्शन के लिए हाथ उठाया, उसने भी सारे सही चॉइसेस के लिए हाथ उठाया या आंसर लिखे. Now he is into the Indian civil services, suppose an IAS officer or an IPS officer. अब वो पैसे लेकर केस सेटल कर रहे हैं, समझ लो. So the knowledge of ethics is no guarantee that you are ethical. Then why is the need to introduce this paper? बस syllabus बढ़ाने के लिए और aspirants को और trouble करने के लिए? Why people behave in an unethical fashion? First, we must address that question if we want to understand this, that the knowledge of ethics does not make a person ethical always. There is no guarantee. उसके लिए हमको ये समझना पड़ेगा कि लोग unethically क्यों behave करते हैं. See, one major reason why people behave unethically is because it is ingrained in their habit. कि उनके आदत में वो चीज शुमार है कि वो unethically ही behave करेंगे. It means they are looking for opportunities to indulge in corruption, harassment, etc. तो आप समझ सकते हो कि उनके हैबिट में ही वैसा है, ठीक है, क्योंकि वो यही करते हुए आए हैं अभी तक, एंड दिस इज व्हाट गिव्स देम प्लेजर. दिस इज व्हाट गिव्स देम प्लेजर. सो दिस इज वन रीजन व्हाई पीपल बिहेव अनएथिकली, इज इट इज दे आर हैबिचुअली इंक्लाइंड टू डू सो. सेकेंड रीजन इज दे आर सेल्फिश पीपल. दे आर मोटिवेटेड बाय ग्रीड और दे आर अट्रैक्टेड बाय द प्लेजर quotient. मतलब समझ कर देखो कि suppose you are working in the PWD, Public Works Department, and there is one tender which is to be floated by Government of India, and you are working under CPWD, suppose Central Public Works Department. And what happened, you see that there is this particular person who says that please give me the tender and I will give you this much amount as compensation. Because you know several types of terms are used for corruption money. So compensation या gift, खातिरदारी, जो बोलना है. So now there is a greed that when you look at the money you find that that's more than 3 times of the package at which you are working for the government. If you are ethically hollow, अगर आपकी moral रीढ़ की हड्डी टूटी हुई है, समझ में आ रहा है, तो you will fall into that well of temptation. You will be motivated by pleasure that you can gain by using that. The third major reason, though there are multiple reasons why people can act unethically, third major reason why people act unethically is because they are ignorant about the ethics. Do you understand that? What happened was, when the Central Administrative Tribunal pulled up several officers for unethical behavior, one major defense which was extended by the officers were, my lord, I am not aware about the law. I am not aware about the ethical dimensions of the law, though I have understood the legal dimension. The reason for introducing GS paper 4 in mains examination is to cut this line of defense. Nobody can now claim immunity by saying that I was ignorant about ethics, क्योंकि वो आपको पढ़ा दिया गया है और अब ट्रेनिंग में भी होती है वो चीज. Do you understand that? So you cannot claim immunity now that you are not aware about the law or the ethics underneath. So there are 3 reasons: habitually inclined, inherent in their actions, behavior and attitude; selfish, greed quotient या pleasure element, और यहाँ पे मैंने इसको स्पेशली रेड कलर में दिखाया है, ignorance. So people will remain to act in an unethical way, they will choose to act in an unethical way in these 2 cases always, but now they cannot claim immunity by saying that I am not aware about the law. मुझे पता ही नहीं ethics क्या है. I have no idea about what is probity in governance. So that's why गलती हो गई. माफ कर दीजिए. You get that? That line of argument is now abandoned. This is the purpose of introducing GS paper 4 in the civil services examination, although you must understand this with a caveat that the knowledge of ethics is no guarantee that the person is ethical. समझ में आ रहा है? Ethics is different from morality. A person with high moral principles will always behave in a moral way, but you can still stick to the ethics of the society, at the same time remain immoral highly. सोच कर देखो, that one person believes in isolation. He believes that there is nothing called gender parity. Women are lesser than men. This kind of an obsolete, redundant, medieval period kind of thought remains inside his head. But when he joins a organization where women are working, he pays respect. He says that I believe in gender equality. So he is immoral and ethical at the same time. Do you understand that? So the whole idea was that you cannot raise a defense now on the ground of ignorance. ठीक है, यहाँ तक बात clear हो गई? Let's now try to understand that why an unethical officer is not desirable in a developing country. Because an unethical officer is like a clever devil. An unethical officer who is also intelligent officer. He will misuse his office, he will abuse his power, he will misappropriate funds, he will misallocate resources, he will take undue immunity under the loopholes present in various laws. So that kind of a person is a clever devil, and a clever devil is obviously detrimental for the society, especially a developing country like India. इसलिए यूपीएससी ने डिसाइड किया कि एक बहुत इंटेलिजेंट और अनएथिकल आदमी नहीं बनना चाहिए आईएएस ऑफिसर. वी वांट थोड़ा लेसर इंटेलिजेंस भी चलेगा. आई एम नॉट सेइंग दैट इंटेलिजेंस इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड, ऑब्वियसली इट इज रिक्वायर्ड, देयर इज नो कॉम्प्रोमाइज ऑन दैट, बट थोड़ा लेसर इंटेलिजेंस चलेगा बिकॉज स्किल डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम से वो एनहांस किया जा सकता है. बट एथिक्स नहीं सिखाया जा सकता. It has to come from inside. If you look at the content of GS paper 1, 2 and 3, you will find everything that remains outside you. History, polity, geography, etc. GS paper 4 is all about your mind. GS paper 4 is all about your values. GS paper 4 is all about what you are. Do you understand that? That's why you see that the whole idea was that to avoid this kind of a catastrophe, that we don't want an intelligent, unethical man to come into the IAS. तो एक बहुत ही बुद्धिमान आदमी की जगह एक बहुत ही नैतिक आदमी और an ethical person should become an IAS. This was the reason why GS paper 4 was introduced. एक बार जब हम ये समझ जाएं कि डिमांड क्या है इसके इंट्रोडक्शन के पीछे, then we can plan our preparation accordingly. Okay. Now let's try to understand that what kind of approach we will be following while studying ethics. So there are three major approaches that we will be following. First is the continuum approach, second is the situational approach, and the third one is the philosophical approach. Let me ask you one question. How many of you can give me this guarantee that you will never lie or have never lied? Raise your hands if you have never lied in your life. So this room is filled with liars. That's what I am assuming. Okay, how many of you can give me a guarantee that you will never murder someone? Raise your hands. Come what the situation, you will never murder someone. Raise your hands properly, handsomely, so that I can see. देखो बिल्कुल ना दिल खोल के पढ़ो तभी समझ में आएगा. ठीक है. So you are giving guarantee. Now just assume that there is one person, a kidnapper, who has picked up a child, 3-year-old, and is holding a gun against his head. And you are the only person who has a revolver in his hand, and you can shoot down the gunman and you can save the child. If you lose 2 more seconds to think, the man will shoot the child. Go on. Will you pull the trigger or not? All those who have said that I will never indulge in murder, will you pull the trigger or not? Who will not pull the trigger? Raise your hand. So this is also a class of potential murderers. Okay, not only liars but also murderers. That is what I want to tell you, my dear friends, that in ethics there is nothing like absolute rightness or absolute wrongness. There is nothing like always good and always bad. Actually, everything depends upon context, the situation, the circumstance, the intention, the motivation, and the person who is performing the action. That is known as the continuum approach. So there is a scale of morality. Do you understand that? That's what I'm saying. Just imagine this, that a soldier also kills people. But if a soldier, one soldier kills 10 opponent soldiers, we celebrate him. Whereas if an ordinary man kills even one another innocent man, we hold him morally deplorable or despicable. ठीक है ना? हम ये कहते हैं कि his actions are morally reprehensible, disgusting. Why? Because they both are indulging into the same action, killing another person. क्या बदल गया? Context बदल, purpose बदल. Do you understand that? He is killing for saving the innocent, and the society has given him the right to do so because he is entrusted with the task of protecting us from our enemies or protecting our borders. Do you get that? तो आप बता नहीं सकते कि murder is right or wrong. अगर मैं बोलूं murder is right, now murder is murder. Do you understand that? Or if you are thinking that murder is a very bad word, just let me use this word. Killing a person is wrong. You cannot say this is right or wrong because you have to have the context also to it. So that is the first thing that we will do. So there is something called the scale of morality. On the extremes, we have good actions and bad actions. Then we have actions which are more good than bad, actions which are more bad than good, and actions which are equally good and bad. Everything depends upon context. So हम जब पढ़ेंगे ethics, we will follow this continuum approach. Unfortunately, in the West, there is a kind of binary understanding of ethics. Either it is right or wrong. But in India, you will find that ethics has always been seen from a continuum lens, that there is a scale of morality. Some scholars like Aristotle, they understood the scale of morality. And Arthur Schopenhauer, say for example, because he was highly influenced by Buddhist ethics. That's why he could understand this. But most other scholars, mostly you will see that they are in the binary understanding of ethics. कि ऐसा होता है सही और ऐसा होता है गलत. Do you understand that? That's the first approach. The second approach is the situational approach. What is this situational approach? There will be certain situations where two kind of moral values or moral principles, they will clash against each other, and you will find it very difficult to pick one and drop another. This is the situation of ethical paradox or moral paradox or ethical dilemma, जो कई बार हम फेस करेंगे क्लास में, and we'll see how we can resolve that dilemma. Just imagine this. Okay, let's take the case of an old man. Suppose this old man is seeking benefits under a government scheme, and you might have seen case studies like that, but he lacks documents to support his eligibility for the scheme. The scheme says that if you are more than 60 years old and your income is less than 1 lakh per annum, government will give you XYZ benefits. And suppose you are the IAS officer who is entrusted with the task of implementing this scheme. Let's call it public welfare scheme. Do you understand that? Now, in your office, suddenly one day this old man visits. He prays before you that I have no assets, I have no money, I have no food, I am more than 60 years of age. Please make me a beneficiary under the scheme. But आप क्या बोलते हो कि where are the documents? He says, I have no documents. You say, can you bring your Aadhaar card? He says, no, I cannot bring my Aadhaar card. Any other document which proves that you are more than 60 years of age and you do not hold any kind of property? He says, I have nothing. Now this is a dilemma situation. This is a paradox, because on one hand you have to stick to the procedures, you have to stick to rule of law. Because as an IAS officer, when you were entering the office, you took the oath of constitution. You said that I'll stick to the procedures and the rule of law. How can you violate that? On the other hand, just imagine if this person does not get the benefits of the scheme, why are we having this hula gala? What is the need? This is just for our own pleasure. हमारी खुशी के लिए हमने एक स्कीम बनाया है और हम बोल रहे हैं कि इससे बेनिफिट होने वाला, जबकि ऑन ग्राउंड कोई ज्यादा फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है, because there are so many people who lack the documents or the papers. Will they be left out? So this is a clash between following the rules and orders that you have got and compassion towards the weaker section. What will you pick? Now you can pick anything, by the way, because I told you on the scale of morality there is nothing like absolute goodness or absolute badness, absolute rightness or absolute wrongness. The only thing is, how do you defend it? Do you get that? In our classes also we will see these kind of situations, so many of them, and we will make a decision, because in ethics you have to ultimately take a decision, क्योंकि आप एनालिसिस पैरालिसिस में नहीं जा सकते. समझ में आ रहा है कि एनालाइज ही कर रहे हैं बस सिचुएशन को, एंड यू आर टेकिंग नो डिसीजन. Sometimes people might say taking no decision is also a kind of decision, but as administrators that cannot happen. You have to be on your toes to take decisions. तो हम कैसे डिफेंड कर सकते? आप ऐसे डिफेंड कर सकते हो, क्या मुझे लग रहा है कि ये सही एक्शन है. Just imagine if somebody asks you, who are you? Why would I tow your understanding of right and wrong? Who are you? There we will incorporate the philosophical approach, where we will use the thoughts, the ideas, the various kind of philosophies highlighted by several thinkers, world leaders, philosophers from world and India, and will defend our actions by their logic. Do you understand that? If you say, I choose this because Swami Vivekananda chose this, for the evaluator now it is very difficult to cut your marks, because you are giving a solid ethical backing. Under such circumstances, when Martin Luther King Jr. was fighting against racial discrimination, he decided to do X, hence I choose X. Do you understand that? But अगर वहां पे आपका bankruptcy है, समझ लो, bankruptcy of scholars and thoughts, तो फिर आप वही लिखोगे जो आपको सही लग रहा है, और आपको सही लग रहा है आप उसको डिफेंड नहीं कर सकते. आपको यही लिखना पड़ेगा, I feel, I believe, ऐसे स्टेटमेंट यूज करना पड़ेगा. Under the given situation, I will choose. But why will you choose? अगर ये क्वेश्चन हो गया, you are blank. That's why we will also adopt a philosophical approach while we will be learning this subject. And some philosophies, like say for example, here I have highlighted Immanuel Kant's deontological logic, which is duty-based ethics, then Aristotle's Nicomachean ethics, then John Stuart Mill's rule utilitarianism, then say for example M.K. Gandhi's Satyagraha, or Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar's ethics of justice, or Swami Vivekananda's Vedanta renunciation. So there will be host of scholars that will come into our class and we will organically integrate them. बहुत सारे लोगों को लगता है फिफ्थ यूनिट है ही नहीं, क्योंकि वो कभी उसको पढ़ते ही नहीं. But the fifth unit is the backbone of this paper. If you are not good with scholars, thinkers, ideas, etc., your answer writing will also be very shallow. और अगर आपकी आंसर राइटिंग बहुत shallow होगी, forget about crossing 125 marks. यहाँ तक बात समझ में आई? So we will be following three approaches: continuum approach, situational approach, and the philosophical approach. These three approaches we will be following. Now, what kind of mindset do you require to learn ethics? So I'm saying that you require 5 kind of mindsets, or you have to have 5 kinds of mind at the same time. First is the curious mind, second liberal mind, third rational mind, fourth neutral mind, and fifth situational mind. Now what is a curious mind? A curious mind is one which is eager to know, and you know that only those people who are eager to know can learn. Those people who are not curious enough, they will not be able to learn anything in life. So first thing that I want you to be in, I want you to be in the state of curiosity. to learn कि ये क्यों बोल रहे हैं ऐसा. Why is Jeremy Bentham speaking like that? Why is Jean-Paul Sartre talking like that? Why is Gilligan so much concerned about care and compassion? So you have to have a curious mind first. Second thing is you have to have a liberal mind. Now do not get confused between liberal mind and the word liberal as it is used in popular media. A liberal mind is one which can entertain all kinds of thoughts. Like say for example, Voltaire said that I may not agree with you, but I will defend your chance of speaking. As simple as that. You can speak your mind, I will defend you, but I may not agree with you. Do you understand that? That's the beauty of democracy. If you have a hardline mind कि नहीं ऐसा ही होता तो फिर मुश्किल हो जाएगा. आप देखो only fools are dead sure. ऐसे ही होता. Intelligent people are always slightly confused, they are curious and they have a liberal mind. Do you understand that? So we'll entertain consequentialism, deontology, we'll also entertain egoism, altruism, we'll also entertain say for example Indian ethics, Western ethics, और फिर context के हिसाब से हम उसको use करना सीखें. So it will add charm to your answer. Third thing is you have to have a rational mind. ऐसा नहीं कि नहीं ये एक्शन सही है, मेरे को लग रहा है ये सही, मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगता है ऐसा करना इसलिए ये सही. You do not have to be carried away with your emotion. Sometimes you may get carried away with your emotion, especially emotions like say for example love, compassion, etc. But you have to also not sacrifice your logic and rationality at any point. कि logic ये सही कह रहा है या नहीं कह. Like say for example, think of this. Suppose there is a school in which midday meal is being served and some parents are saying that we will not allow our children to eat this food because the food has been made by someone belonging to the so-called lower castes. Do you understand that? Is this rational and logical to accept that in a society which is built by a constitution which proclaims equality? Equality before the law and equal protection of the laws. Equality of status and of opportunity, this is clearly going against equality of status. Do you understand that? That's why rationally nahi agree kar sakte aap isko. Fourth thing is you have to have a neutral mind. Neutral mind is one which is not taking sides. Don't get confused between liberal mind and neutral mind. Liberal mind is one which is eager to entertain all thoughts. Neutral mind is one which is impartial in nature, which is not partial. हो सकता है कोई स्कॉलर आपके फेवरेट हो जाए पढ़ते वक्त, पर ऐसा नहीं है. Don't get carried away by that thought, because if that would happen then your entire answer paper will reverberate his philosophy and you would sound very monotonous to the evaluator. And if that happens then obviously you will not be able to write anything. और ऐसा तब होगा when the ideologies are contrasting, like say for example conditional egoism of Adam Smith, you get motivated by that, or dialectic materialism of Karl Marx, you get motivated by that. कोई भी चीज हो जाए तो it would be reflected in the paper. That's why you have to have a neutral mind where you are balancing both. And then a situational mind, as I said, that you have to make some situational sacrifices, like say for example rule of law clashing with compassion, social interest clashing with privacy of a particular person, or say for example your necessity to create a vaccine clashing with the humanity angle, like say for example field trials or something like that, whether you want to do some kind of animal trial before you want to launch it. So several scholars like say Peter Singer says that stop this atrocity on animals. ये क्या है कि जब भी कोई दवाई बन रही है कभी बंदर पे लगा रहे हो कभी चूहे पे लगा रहे हो, उन्होंने कुछ बनाया और आप पे लगा के टेस्ट किया तो will you accept that? So Peter Singer is against that. तो अगर आप देखोगे तो इस तरीके की चीजें भी आने वाली हैं क्लासेस में. So that's why you have to have a situation. समझ में आ गई बात? The approach and the mindset. So curious mind, liberal mind, rational mind, neutral mind and a situation. Now let's try to understand, is it correct to call GS paper 4 as ethics, integrity and aptitude? Let's take a look at this picture. This is a bag of tennis balls, this is a bag of cricket balls and this is a bag of golf balls. Can I call this a bag of golf balls? Will it be correct? Can I call this a bag of cricket balls? It won't be correct. Do you understand that? Now, if suppose I prepare a fourth bag where I take some balls from first bag, second bag and third bag. Now can I call it a bag of tennis, cricket and golf balls? Can I call it? Now suppose I also add a basketball, football, a rugby ball, all those kind of things. Do you understand that? But 45 tennis balls, 45 cricket balls, 45 golf balls, only one basketball, one football, etc. Other balls. Now can I call it a bag of primarily tennis, cricket and golf balls? But it may also have other balls. Do you understand that? That's why you see here, when the subject is called as ethics, integrity and aptitude, some research has gone in here. ये तीन चीजें जो हैं, ये पिलर हैं इस सब्जेक्ट. Ethics is the general ethics. Integrity simply means doing the right thing under all circumstances. Professional integrity, personal integrity, administrative integrity, कई सारे इसके फॉर्म हो सकते हैं. And aptitude is your inherent ability to do something. A more appropriate name would have been ethics, integrity, attitude and aptitude. और अच्छा नाम होता है इस पेपर. Do you understand that? But even this is a nice name. But it has other things as well. Emotional intelligence, attitude, probity in governance, ethics in public administration. But अगर आप इनका निचोड़ करोगे तो आपको यही तीनों चीजें निकल कर आएंगी आपके सामने. Ethics, integrity and aptitude. That's why it is so correct to call this paper ethics, integrity and aptitude. But we will call it GS paper 4. That's a better name. So you get it? Now, let's try to understand from where the subject matter of GS paper 4 has been drawn. There are four major areas from where the subject matter of GS paper 4 has been drawn. First is philosophy, second sociology, psychology and then public administration. When in 2013 this paper was introduced and nobody knew what the question paper would look like, then many people who were having public administration optional, they thought that they have gained an unassailable advantage because there was already a topic called ethics in public administration in the public administration paper. तो इनको लगा कि हमको फायदा मिलने वाला है. But then when the syllabus was released, it had things like thoughts and ideas of thinkers and philosophers from world and India. So the people who had philosophy optional, they started thinking that no, this paper is primarily drawn from our optional. Then it had things like lessons learned from family, society, educational institutions in inculcation of values. Now this is a clear thing coming out of sociology. Do you understand that? And then there is something called attitude, aptitude, emotional intelligence, human values. They all flow from a branch of psychology called human psychology or social psychology. So अगर हम अच्छे से देखें, you will find that these four papers actually are the set from where the syllabus of ethics has been drawn. But अगर आप समझ लो आपका optional geography है, anthropology है या history है, so don't get demotivated. Those who are having these optionals, they don't get an edge in GS paper 4 because sociology में basis of thought जो है वो society है, philosophy में morality है या philosophical ideas है, psychology में भी human mind है. समझ में आ रहा है? Public administration में administration focal point है, जो locus है वो क्या है? Public administration में administration. But in GS paper 4 the locus is moral decision making. Do you understand that? जो पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के ऑप्शनल है, जिनका ऑप्शनल पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन है, इनफैक्ट कभी तो उनको डिसएडवांटेज हो जाता है क्योंकि वो जब आंसर लिखते हैं तो पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन की तरह लिख देते हैं एंड दैट्स व्हाई दे एंड अप विद स्कोर्स लाइक 80, 85 एटसेट्रा, व्हिच इज डिजास्ट्रस. डू यू गेट इट? सो लेट्स टेक अ लुक एट द सिलेबस. इफ यू टेक अ लुक एट द सिलेबस यू विल फाइंड ethics and human interface. This is the first unit. It says human actions and human values, lessons from the lives and teachings of great leaders, reformers and administration, contribution of family, society and educational institution in inculcation of values, attitude, aptitude and foundational value for civil services, emotional intelligence, contribution of moral thinkers and philosophers from India and world, public civil service values and ethics in public administration, probity in governance, case studies on above issues. अब आप देखो जहां पे भी आपको ब्लू कलर दिख रहा है, दैट पार्ट इज टेकन फ्रॉम पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. जहां पे भी आपको रेड कलर दिख रहा है, दिस पार्ट हैज बीन टेकन फ्रॉम सोशल साइकोलॉजी. जहां पे भी आपको पर्पल दिख रहा है, वायलेट, दिस पार्ट हैज बीन टेकन फ्रॉम फिलॉसफी. यू अंडरस्टैंड दैट? एंड जहां पे आपको ये ग्रीन लाइन दिख रही है, दैट इज टेकन फ्रॉम सोशियोलॉजी. एंड वट एवर इज ब्लैक is mostly an admixture of all. So you get it? तो एक ब्रीफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग ले लेंगे हम पूरे सिलेबस का. एथिक्स एंड ह्यूमन इंटरफेस में मोस्टली हम ह्यूमन एक्शन और ह्यूमन वैल्यूज के बारे में पढ़ें. ठीक है? ह्यूमन एक्शन इज नथिंग बट द वेरियस काइंड ऑफ एक्ट्स परफॉर्म्ड बाय people and we will see the ethics around those actions. Human values are those things which people hold very dear, like say for example integrity, justice, fairness, freedom. These are some human values. Love, compassion. And then we will also try to understand the lessons from the lives of and the teachings of great leaders, administrators, philosophers, etc. Contribution of family, society and educational institution in inculcation of values is a clear cut understanding कि आपको family से, educational institution से और society से कौन से values सीखने को मिलते हैं. Like say for example you learn the value of nationalism maybe from society, family and educational institution. All. Attitude simply says that what kind of feelings get generated in your heart when you think about someone, something or about some event. Positive feelings or negative feelings. Depending upon your feelings, your thought, you develop attitudes. Attitudes like positive attitude and attitudes like negative attitude. There is also something called mixed attitude. Remember the continuum approach? This is known as attitude ambivalence. Anyhow, aptitude simply means your inherent ability to do something. Aptitude God gift है. ठीक है? Aptitude की कोई ट्रेनिंग नहीं हो सकती. एप्टीट्यूड के बेसिस पे कुछ स्किल आपको सिखाया जा सकता है. दैट्स व्हाई देयर इज ऑलवेज स्किल डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम्स बट नो एप्टीट्यूड बिल्डिंग प्रोग्राम्स. इट कैन नॉट बी बिल्ट. यू अंडरस्टैंड दैट? लाइक सपोज टू पीपल, हम ऐसे बोलते हैं ना गॉड गिफ्ट है इसको, इज अ वेरी गुड सिंगर और अ वेरी गुड स्पोर्ट्स पर्सन. सो दैट इज एप्टीट्यूड. ओके. फाउंडेशनल वैल्यू फॉर सिविल सर्विसेज आर दोज वैल्यूज which create the pillars over which participative citizen centric administration stands. Then emotional intelligence is your ability to understand your emotions and emotions of others, then use the information from that understanding and use that information for decision making in the right. That is emotional intelligence. Contribution of moral thinkers, ये तो अपने आप में समझ में आ रहा है आपको. Public service values and ethics in public administration and probity in governance, these are mostly you see that they are based on ethics in public administration. In fact, ये जो 7th unit है, ये 6th unit का ही एक subset है. This is mostly dealing with corruption, the 7th unit. And the 8th section is case studies on the above issues. So case study के लिए अगर आप देखोगे, so you will find that most of the case studies are coming from the 6th unit, 7th unit and the second part of 3rd unit. यहाँ से most of the case studies are coming into the class. Now, what will be our approach in the class? See, I want you first to have those 5 mindsets, remember? And the approaches I have already discussed, that continuum approach, situational approach and philosophical approach. We will first discuss one topic. We'll try to understand that topic inside out. I will give you the opportunity to ask questions about the topic. Once everything is clear, you please note down in your copy. I'll dictate everything in the class. Whatever I'm saying, I'll dictate everything. That book will be a manual at the end of the course. And so many people have scored more than 125 just by the notes that I have provided. Okay, but 2 things I desire from you people. First is do not miss the classes, because if you miss the classes, the flow will be gone and you will not be able to understand anything any further. Okay. And second, while you are making your notes, please put a margin on the right hand side so that if you get a new idea related to the concept, you can always incorporate it. Okay. Now, which books you should follow? As of now, for the first week, I would say you should not follow any book. I have also given you a list of 6 booklets. Hold them. Don't touch them for now. Just do what we are doing in the class. After 1 week, I'll tell you how to utilize the books. For now, if you are interested in purchasing anything beyond the material that I have provided, then go for the lexicon on ethics. That's it. Don't purchase any other book, because no book that is circulating in the market fully deals with everything that is there in this subject. Mostly index देखकर लोग खरीद लेते हैं, but I am talking, when you read the book, you will find it very shallow and very मतलब weak in raising concepts and raising arguments. In fact, वो खराब कर देगा आपका ethical understanding पूरे तरीके से. ठीक है, तो अभी सिर्फ आप लेक्सिकन ले सकते हो, but even better than lexicon is the glossary of terms that you have got from here, because it contains more kind of ideas that the lexicon covers. Okay, but if you are, मतलब होता है ना, कुछ लोगों को नहीं खरीदना ही है कुछ, तो आप लेक्सिकन ले सकते हो, उससे ज़्यादा और कुछ लेना नहीं. ठीक है, we will have 45 lectures, 35 will be dedicated to theory, 10 workshop on case studies. थ्योरी की अंडरस्टैंडिंग को यूज करते हुए ही हम केस स्टडीज को सॉल्व कर सकते हैं, अदरवाइज इट वुड बिकम रियली चैलेंजिंग फॉर अस. ठीक है, सो बिफोर वी प्रोसीड एनी फर्दर, लेट मी show you something related to the previous year's question papers. This is the mark sheet. Okay, just let me tell you just like that. If you see the question paper, you will find that there are 6 questions that come from the theory section, and there are 6 case studies. ये आप देखो, 6 questions, theoretical questions and 6 case studies. These 6 questions mostly come from the 7 theoretical units, और उसमें भी एक question number 3, every year you will see that it is purely dedicated to the 5th unit, which is thinkers and philosophers from world and India. Quotation के फॉर्म में आता. ठीक है, ethics में हर क्वेश्चन अलग है with respect to the other GS papers. In other GS papers you have got 10 markers and 15 markers, but in ethics you have got only 10 markers, 150 words. That's why it becomes more challenging to write, because to say everything in lesser words is challenging. That's why it becomes really challenging. The case study is mostly of 20 marks, so 120 marks are of case study and 130 marks are from the theoretical section. 5 questions out of the 6 questions in the theoretical portion has 2 parts, A and B, while one of them, generally speaking the third question, ऐसा ही रहा है अभी पिछले 3 साल से, it has 3 parts, A, B and C, 3 quotations. So in total, if you see, you have got 13 10 markers, which becomes 130 marks in the theoretical section. तो टारगेट हमारा इतना होना चाहिए कि दोनों सेक्शंस को हम इतने अच्छे से करें दैट हमारा ओवरऑल स्कोर जो है वो 125 प्लस चला जाए. Do you understand that? Is it really possible to score more than 125 plus? What if I show you some evidence that some people have actually scored that? If you will look, some people have actually scored that. Don't know whether it's visible or not. What's wrong with the slide? Okay, maybe it's visible. Question paper. This one is the mark list. I think it will take time to load, but anyhow, what I was saying is, like, there are so many toppers who have scored more than 125. Scores have gone as high as 160, 157, 147. तो यहाँ पे शायद आपको दिख नहीं रहा होगा because it's like zoomed out even when it is not visible. Never mind. But the whole idea is, I'll give you a file on this if you want. ठीक है, जहाँ पे you will see this, the toppers scoring more than 125. It is very much possible. ठीक है, every year, like this year also, one of my students, PK Siddharth, he has scored more than 125, 137 he has scored. He is the 4th ranker this year. So there are so many students who have crossed 125 very easily in this paper. आपको क्या करना है? आपको बिल्कुल अनबायस्ड तरीके से आना है क्लास में और आपको जो मैं कह रहा हूं वो करते रहो. And I assure you, in 2 months' time, you will feel super confident as far as GS paper 4 is concerned. ठीक है? So let's begin our class now. तो हम आज एक छोटा सा ही टॉपिक करेंगे, which is we will try to define ethics. So in your notebook, you give the first heading, definition of ethics. Definition of ethics. Okay. Now, look here. To understand anything, we must first focus on the word itself. So let's try to understand what is this word ethics and from where it has come into existence. We must look into the origin of the word ethics. The word ethics has originated from a Greek word called ethikos. Ethikos itself comes from another root word called ethos. Ethikos means relating to one's character or arising from habit. The word ethos actually means character or moral nature. So just look here. I'm saying the word ethics is derived from a Greek word ethikos, which means relating to one's character or arising from habit. The word ethikos itself is derived from a root word called ethos, which means character or moral nature. So verbatim, literally put, if we just use these understandings to define ethics, we'll find that ethics refers to the positive traits in our character that develop over a period of time when we repeatedly perform the right actions over and over as a part of our habit. Do you understand that? मैं फिर से दोहरा रहा हूं, ध्यान से सुन. Ethics refers to the positive dimensions, the positive traits of human character that develop when human beings regularly perform the right actions over and over as a part of their habit. Do you understand that? मतलब किसी ने हैबिट बना ली है कि मैं हमेशा सच ही बोलूं, किसी ने हैबिट बना ली है कि मैं कभी चीटिंग नहीं करूंगा एग्जामिनेशन. So over a point of time, that becomes a part of his or her character. Do you understand that? And we say that the person has become ethical. In fact, virtue ethics is dependent on this kind of definition of ethics. All of you are aware about, I hope, a scholar called Aristotle. Now, Aristotle's ethics is known as Nicomachean ethics. Now, what does Aristotle say? Nicomachean ethics is actually a collection of Aristotle's thoughts on morality and ethics. In Nicomachean ethics, Aristotle says, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act but a habit. फिर से दोहरा रहा हूं, ध्यान से देखना. Aristotle says that we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is then not an act but a habit. Aristotle is saying कि हम जो करते रहते हैं हम वही बन जाते हैं. आप झूठ बोलते रहो आप लायर बन जाओगे, आप चोरी करते रहो आप चोर बन जाओगे, समझ में? आप मर्डर करते रहो आप मर्डरर बन जाओगे, आप चीटिंग करते रहो आप चीटर बन जाओगे. So we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence. Excellence का मतलब क्या है यहाँ पे? The excellence of our character. आप काम चोरी करते हो, हमेशा करते हो, काम चोर बन जाओगे. आप आलसी हो, उठते नहीं हो, आलसी बन जाओगे. समझ में आ रहा है? वैसे पॉजिटिव भी आप सोच सकते हो. आप रोज दौड़ते हो, आप एथलीट बन जाओ. आप रोज पढ़ते हो, आप स्कॉलर बन जाओ. आप रोज मेहनत करते हो, आपका एग्जाम क्लियर हो जाए. Do you understand that? Aristotle is saying very simply. He's saying we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act. Excellence means the achievement is not an act. It is a habit. Do you understand that? So this is one definition of ethics which we can derive from the word itself. ठीक है? तो जो आपने लिखा है definition of ethics, उसके नीचे एक सब पॉइंट लिखो, origin of ethics. Origin of ethics. Now under that, bullet wise, you write first bullet. The word ethics is derived from the Greek word. The word ethics is derived from the Greek word ethikos. Ethikos. Put the word ethikos into single or double inverted commas. Ethikos. Put a comma after that. Meaning. Put a hyphen after that. And again write in single inverted commas. Relating to one's character. Relating to one's character. Close the inverted commas. Or, again in inverted commas, arising from habit. Arising from habit. Close the inverted commas. Put a full stop. That's the first bullet. Write the second one. The word ethikos. The word ethikos. Put a comma. Itself comes from. The word ethikos itself comes from the root word ethos. Comes from the root word ethos. Put a comma, meaning character or moral nature. Meaning character or moral nature. Put character and moral nature in single inverted commas. Meaning character or moral nature. Next bullet. Thus, literally put. Thus, literally put. Or verbatim. Or verbatim. Verbatim means as it is, literally put. Verbatim, put a comma. Ethics refers to. Ethics refers to the good traits. Ethics refers to the good traits. Traits means dimensions of our character. Good traits of our character that develop. Good traits of our character that develop when we repeatedly perform. When we repeatedly perform the correct actions. Repeatedly perform the correct actions regularly as a part of our habit. Repeatedly perform correct actions regularly as a part of our habit. ठीक है? Now change the ink if you want. Write a quote. We are what we repeatedly do. We are what we repeatedly do. put a semicolon after that. Excellence, put a comma after that. Then put a comma after that as well. Excellence, comma, then, comma, is not an act, but a habit, Unquote. Put a hyphen and write Aristotle. Put a hyphen and write Aristotle. But obviously you can understand that Aristotle lived in the ancient times, and Aristotle might have no idea about a modern language like English. उन्होंने तो जो भी बोला होगा ग्रीक में बोला होगा. You understand that? This is the English translation of what he said, and this English translation was done by a person called William James Durant, sometimes referred to as Will Durant. He, while studying and deciphering Nicomachean ethics, highlighted this statement. Will Durant, by the way, is an American writer, historian, and philosopher. He himself is widely popular in the philosophical world. So write a note under what you have written. Write a note. While discussing Nicomachean ethics, put Nicomachean ethics into double inverted commas. Put a comma after that. A major collection of Aristotle's thoughts. On morality. Put a hyphen. William James Durant. Now hold on. Whenever you are writing the scholars, it is advisable to use another ink so that you create picture memory of the scholar. William James Durant, in bracket you write Will Durant, close the bracket, an American writer, historian, and philosopher. First expressed this quote. Full stop. Drop your pen. Okay. Look here. See, always your focus should be on understanding. लिखने में तो 5 मिनट लगते हैं, ठीक है? Always pay attention on understanding. So we have tried to understand the word ethics, and in the process of understanding the word ethics, we have got a definition for ethics, and we have also got an idea of Aristotle which suits with this definition. Do you understand that? So the word ethics is derived from a Greek word ethikos, which means relating to one's character or arising from habit, which itself is derived from a root word ethos. This is also a Greek word which means character or moral nature. So just by looking at it, if we try to build a sentence around the meanings, we get that ethics refers to the positive or the good things about our character that develop over a period of time when we repeatedly perform right actions and good action as a part of our habit. William James Durant, the American historian, while he was deciphering Aristotle's ideas contained in his treatise called the Nicomachean Ethics, he said that this is what Aristotle said. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act but a habit. It means हम जो करते रहेंगे हम वही बन जाएंगे. तो हम अगर अच्छा करते रहेंगे, right actions लेते रहेंगे, तो हम अच्छे बन जाएंगे और हम सही काम करने लगेंगे. As simple as that. ठीक है? But this is a verbatim definition of ethics. Now let's try to understand a more standard definition of ethics. Drop your pen and look here. I hope all of you are aware about sets in mathematics. Have you heard about the set theory in mathematics? Like say for example, X is a set of numbers. So ethics is also a set. ऐसे समझ कर ठीक है. Like X is a set of numbers. Ethics is also a set. So ethics is a set of what? It is a set of principles and standards. Principles could be large number of principles from P1, P2 up to Pn. Similarly, standards could also be large number of standards from S1, S2 up to Sm. Now, what are these principles and standards? A principle is a rule, or a principle is a directive. A principle is a norm that you want to follow in life. आपने भी कुछ अपने principles बना रखे होंगे life. Principles कुछ नहीं है, आपके आदर्श. You get that? Principles are the rules that you have made for yourself. Like say for example, there is a person who has made a rule that I will never indulge in corruption. This is a principle that he has made for himself. Do you understand that? And he's never going to violate that principle under any circumstance. That's what he's saying. All principles are based on certain values, and these values are the standards. Standard is something that we seek to establish. Principle is something that we seek to follow, and by following that we try to achieve that standard in life. Like say for example, some standard could be, like say for example, integrity. Integrity is actually a value. Value is something which is worth holding. Do you understand that? If it's not worth holding, then it is not valuable. So value is something that is worth holding. So there are some moral ideas which are worth holding. Integrity is one among them. So integrity is the value the person holds. That's the standard he has set for himself. That's why he has made a rule for himself or a principle for himself. He says that I will never indulge in corruption because I'm a man of integrity. Do you get that? So what is ethics? Ethics is a set of principles and standards. There could be several principles. I will not kill an innocent man. That's also a principle. I will never indulge in cheating in an examination. That's also a principle. Values could be like say for example, or standards could be like integrity, compassion, justice, fairness, freedom, and a host of them. Do you understand that? All principles, they are based on a value or a value set. Do you get that? And you want to establish that by following the principle. Ethics refers to those principles and standards that a society, social group, or an organization or an institution has placed over itself, and in the light of which these things will be judged. Human thoughts, human motives, human choices, human actions, human behavior, etc. So these all things would be judged in the light of those principles and standards. And from the standpoint of what? Why this judgment is taking place? In order to see that whether the human thought, motive, choice, action or behavior was good or bad, right or wrong, appropriate or inappropriate. Let's think of an example. Suppose a team is traveling outside India or any country, and that is a team of sportspersons. Now they are trying to participate in a global athletic competition. Suppose some of the athletes, they take banned substances or drugs. What do you say? This behavior is ethical or unethical? Say loudly. Unethical. Why? Because you have compared it with the values and the principles that the sporting institution or organization has placed over itself. Now these principles and standards, they can evolve over a period of time and they can come from various sources, but more or less once they are set, they are then placed over the society or the social group or the organization. Like there could be ethics of a particular organization. Say for example, the famous shoe brand Nike has its own ethics, Apple Computers has its own ethics. Do you understand that? So ethics is a set of principles or standard that a society, social group or an organization or institution places over itself, and in the light of which human thoughts, motives, actions, choices, behavior, etc. are judged from the standpoint of good or bad, right or wrong, appropriate or inappropriate. Do you understand that? So the whole purpose of having this set or ethics is to make moral judgment. Understand that? Moral judgment means the judgment of right and wrong, good and bad. Do you get that? Ethics should not be confused with morality. Morality is also a set of principles and standards that an individual has placed over itself. Ethics is that set of standards and principles which the society has placed over itself. Do you understand that? Individuals are participants in the society, they deliberate over their own principles and norms, and on the basis of the deliberation they come up with a final set of principles and standards. Like say for example, the Constitution of India is an ethical document. Say yes or no to that? Yes, because that is the outcome of deliberation and discussion, in which several principles and standards like justice, equality, fraternity, etc. have been incorporated, and all your actions are judged in the light of the constitutional provisions and then declared as good and bad, right or wrong, appropriate or inappropriate. Do you understand that? Suppose you feel that it is wrong to eat non-vegetarian food, then that's morality. If the society starts understanding that eating non-vegetarian food is bad, that is ethics of the society. Okay, you tell me one thing now, very carefully. Apply your logic and say, this set of principles and standards, they are fixed or they are evolving over a period of time? Evolving, very good. Now can I say that they also change with time and space? Like in the olden days, if you go, education was restricted to a certain section, or even adult franchise was given only to a certain section, like people with property or education. In those times, it was considered as right. Women did not have the right to vote even in United States of America till early 19th century, early 20th century in fact. They had no right to vote. And it was considered all good. You get that? Because that was the ethics of the time. Okay, different organizations will have their own ethical sets, different societies will have their own ethical set, but some of the standards and principles may find place in various ethical sets. Like say for example, can you talk about an organization where the organization's ethical set is not talking about fair work environment? Most organizations will talk about it. So fair work environment, we believe in creating fair work environment, that's a principle. Do you understand that? And that's based on a value standard which is equality in workspace. Do you get it? So equality or gender parity, fair workspace, you will find more or less in every organization, but yet all the ethical sets might look different. Now look here very carefully, I am trying to build the idea. Look here, I am saying that there could be a host of principles P1, P2, P3 up to Pn, host of standards like S1, S2 up to Sm. Similarly, there can be different principles set for a different ethical group. Similarly, there could be different standard set for a different organization, and therefore there could be several ethical sets itself, E1, E2 up to En. Can you understand? Different organization, different societies may have different ethical sets. Even the same society may have different ethical sets depending upon time period. Do you get it? Like say for example, declaring war on someone was very normal in the olden days. But today you cannot do so. Carrying weapons was also considered as ethical. But now you cannot carry that because you have got the Arms Act. Do you understand that? You will be booked under that act. So similarly, you can understand then the ethics or the ethical world is actually a universe. Like you have got the physical universe, there is also the ethics universe or the universe of ethics. Do you get it? Ethics is the society's understanding of right and wrong, good and bad, appropriateness and inappropriateness. Morality is your understanding of right and wrong, good and bad, appropriateness and inappropriateness. समझ में आया? तो एक definition तो हमने ये बोला, ethics refers to the positive traits of your character when you repeatedly performs right actions over and over as a part of your habit. The other standard definition is ethics is a set of standards and principles that a society, social group, organization or institution places over itself, and in the light of which human thoughts, motives, choices, actions, behavior, etc. are judged from the standpoint of good or bad, right or wrong, appropriate or inappropriate. Do you understand that? Human thought, ऐसे सोच कर, ethics not only judges only actions, it starts judging your thoughts as well. Like say for example, the thought is that I want to kill X. ठीक है? This is the thought. X, not EX. X. ठीक है? The motive is to harm the individual. The choice is that you may or you may not. So you choose, I will. Then the action is the actual act of killing. And then the behavior is you show no remorse. मतलब कोई पश्चाताप नहीं आप. No remorse or repentance even after indulging in murder. तो आप wrong हो हर जगह पे. समझ लो यहां तक आप आए चॉइस तक, बट आपने एक्शन नहीं लिया, तो यहां से ठीक हो गए आप, पर उससे पहले आप गलत थे. In the court of law, you are judged on the basis of your action and behavior only. But in the court of ethics, the judgment starts from the conception of the thought itself. समझ में आया? That's why Immanuel Kant said, in law, you are guilty if you violate the rights of others. In ethics, you are guilty if you even think of doing so. समझ में आ रहा? देखो. Next point, you write. Ethics is a set of principles and standards. Principles and standards that a society, social group, comma, institution or an organization, places over itself, and in the light of which all human thoughts, motives, choices, actions and behaviors are judged. From the standpoint of right and wrong, put a semicolon, good and bad, good and bad, or appropriateness and inappropriateness, appropriateness and inappropriateness. Now look here, you do this, okay, you create 5 columns and you write like this: human thought. Then the column should not be very lengthy. Then human motive. Then human choice. Then human action. Then human behavior. ठीक है, ये एक एग्जाम्पल दे रहा हूं मैं आपको समझने के लिए. सो हियर यू कैन राइट एग्जाम्पल. और यहां पर एक स्टोरी डेवलप करते हैं, इसको समझ सकें. सो हियर यू राइट द थॉट ऑफ किलिंग समवन. हियर द थॉट ऑफ किलिंग समवन. Thought of killing someone. Under human motive, you write the purpose is to harm the individual. The purpose is to harm the individual. Human choice, you write under that human choice the option of harming or not harming the person. Option of harming or not harming the person. Human action, under that you write the actual act of murder. The actual act of murder. और यहां पे आप लिखो ह्यूमन बिहेवियर के अंदर नो रिमोर्स और रिपेंटेंस. No remorse or repentance. ठीक है, अब इसके बाद इधर देखो. Look here. Here you have to put a line like this and you have to write law. Whereas here you have to put a line like this and you have to write ethics. ठीक है, समझ में आया? So look here again. What have I said? I said that ethics is a set. It's a set of principles and standards that a society, social group or organization places over itself, in the light of which actions, motives, etc. are judged from the standpoint of right or wrong, good or bad, appropriateness or inappropriateness. Okay. Now, the purpose of scholars or moral scholars is to develop this ethical set. Understand that? That is the quest of moral scholars throughout the history of mankind, to develop this ethical set and then systematize within the set the various principles and the various standards. मतलब systematically उसको arrange करना, जैसे constitution में arranged है सब कुछ part wise, वैसे ethical principles को भी arrange करना, जैसे कि say for example ethics based on your role in the society, or ethics based on your membership in the social group, or ethics based on your role in the organization or function in the organization, or ethics because you are this member of the family, like the ethics of father, ethics of mother, ethics of children, etc. Do you understand that? So systematizing all the principles and then defending them, because like say for example Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi is saying that these are the ethical principles that I believe in, then he must defend it. Do you understand that? So all moral scholars are indulged in first building, systematizing, and then defending, and after that recommending. Do you get it? Gandhiji says that satyagraha is the only path. You understand that? Abraham Lincoln says, when I do good, I feel good. When I do bad, I feel bad. That's my religion. Simple statement. Do you understand that? So his religion is actually the religion of humanity. Do you get it? So the quest of scholars or the quest of society as a whole is to first build an ethical set, then systematize it, then defend it, and then recommend it. अब देखो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बिल्कुल ऐसा ही है, first built, then systematically arranged, then we are defending it, and the biggest defender of the constitution is the Supreme Court of India. Do you understand that? And then we are recommending it through law and policy execution. Every time a bill is presented in the parliament, the first statement is said that according to the principles of the constitution, we have built a law, or we are in the process of building a law, because this law will deliver social justice, justice being a part of the Indian constitution, or this law will cause development, socio-economic development is part of empowerment which is related to justice. Do you get it? समझ में आई बात? Next bullet, right? Ethics or moral philosophy. Another name for ethics is moral philosophy, by the way. Ethics or moral philosophy is a branch of philosophy, that involves building, comma, systematizing, building, systematizing, comma, defending and recommending, concepts of right and wrong behavior, ठीक है? Full stop. Now look here very carefully. Think of this. Suppose I take you to a garden, and in that garden you see that there is litter everywhere, there is garbage thrown everywhere, there is foul smell in that garden. Will you like that environment? You will not like that environment. But suppose the garden is very neat and clean, and the fragrance is very beautiful, clean streets and all of that, good trees, flourishing trees. You would love that, right? So you would always love that person who is inherently good. You cannot love anybody else. You may fool yourself that you are loving the person because the person is so and so, but you can love only the person when the person is inherently good. When I say love, I am saying sustainable. Do you understand that? It means you will value the person only when the person has ethics, the person is morally sound. Because if the person is not morally sound, that person is a danger for you as well. Do you understand that? Remember the clever devil, he will exploit even the relationship, whatever relationship you have with the person. Do you understand? Could be even friendship. So that's what you have to keep in mind. In fact, there is a branch of philosophy called axiology. Axiology has two sub branches. One is aesthetics and the other one is ethics. Axiology is that branch of philosophy which deals with the study of values, classification of values, and about things that have value. When something looks visually pleasant, you say that the aesthetics are very good and you attach value to it. So your perception, जो आपके senses हैं, when your senses like something, you say it is aesthetically sound. When your mind likes someone, you say that person is ethically sound. Do you understand that? So aesthetics भी चाहिए आपको अपने life में और ethics भी चाहिए. Do you understand that? That's what you need. Like suppose there is one person and you think that the person is very good and बहुत सारी चीजें सब अच्छी बात है आदमी में, ठीक है, लेकिन नहाता नहीं है, तो आप बहुत ज्यादा देर तक उनके पास बैठ नहीं पाओगे. Do you get it? So aesthetics is also equally important. But if you have to make a choice between aesthetics and ethics, what would you choose? What would you choose? Raise your voice. Do you understand that? This is a branch of axiology. ठीक है, a branch of philosophy. लिखो, एक स्टार बनाकर लिखो. The field of ethics, put a comma, along with the field of ethics, along with aesthetics, put a comma, comprise the branch of philosophy, called axiology. Branch of philosophy called axiology. Put a full stop. Axiology is the philosophical study of values, comma, classification of values and about things that have value तो एक चीज देखो आप, aesthetics attaches value to something which is visually pleasant or which is pleasant to your senses. Ethics attaches value to that which is right, good. Do you get it? Both are required in life. Put a full stop and continue that statement. Aesthetics is a branch of axiology. That associates value with the nature of beauty and taste, Put a comma, or rather put a full stop and write, ethics deals with values that act as guidelines for our behavior. Another star, change the ink and write this. Aesthetics attaches value to something which is right or good for the senses. Put a semicolon. Ethics attaches value to something that is good or right for the conscience. इस स्टेटमेंट को पढ़िए आप एक बार. समझ में आया? Ethics is visual treat or moral treat. Aesthetics is sensual treat. समझ में आया? In margin you write, aesthetics is sensual treat, whereas ethics is moral treat. Aesthetics is sensual treat, whereas ethics is moral treat. Do we have a universal ethical set which is true for all times and all spaces? No. But we may have some universal principles and standards that may find place in most of the ethical sets, if not all. You understand that? So write next point, next bullet. The ethical set is not a universal set. The ethical set is not a universal set. But there are some ethical standards, and principles, standards and principles that are universal. Standards and principles that are universal in nature, and find place in all, universal in nature and find place in all ethical sets. Ethical sets. Okay. Now, look here. Suppose we have a standard. The standard is that human life is valuable. That's the standard. And on the basis of this standard, we have drawn a principle. And the principle is an innocent man shall not be harmed. Are you aware about the famous declaration at the Magna Carta? No man should be injured or harmed without the authority of law. Do you understand that? Avidice's rule of law, pata hai na? So if you see all those kind of things, you would see that these principles are based on some value, like human life is valuable. Now suppose Y is an innocent person and X kills Y. This is the action. What do you say? Ethical, unethical? Unethical. Why? Because you have seen that this action has violated the moral standard as well as the moral principle. This is the model of ethical decision making. ये तो बड़ा ही simple example है, बहुत complex भी हो सकता है, where you see that all actions, they are judged in the light of the standards and the principles that are contained in the ethical set. And the ethical set is already created as a part of the social contract. People come together, deliberate, and they create the ethical set for the society, for the social group, for the religious group, even for the organization. Do you understand that? And therefore, ethical decision making, if you see, is always the decision to make with respect to right or wrong, good or bad. When you are judging the right or wrong, good or bad, you are actually making what kind of decision? Ethical decision. What about moral decision making? Moral decision making is also the same. You say that this action is moral if it is following the particular standard. It is immoral if it is violating the standard. So ethical decision making and moral decision making are actually the same thing. Do you understand that? So ethics and morals are often used interchangeably. Ethics and morality is different. Ethics and morals are often used interchangeably, and we will use that in the class also very easily. That is the reason why, because ethical decision making is actually moral decision making. Ethics is also known as moral philosophy. Give a small subheading: model of ethical decision making. Model of ethical decision making. Okay, you tell me, out of the standards and the principles, which motivate you? Which motivate you? Standards or principles? Say loudly. Standards. Standards always motivate you to achieve them. Like say for example, integrity. You would love to achieve integrity. Courage. You would love to achieve that, right, in life. Justice. You would like to achieve that. And principles, they either prescribe something or they proscribe something. Either they recommend or they say you should not do this. So write down next point. और ये मॉडल ऑफ एथिकल डिसीजन मेकिंग आपने हेडिंग लिखा है, पहला ही बुलेट लिखो इसमें. द एथिकल स्टैंडर्ड्स motivate us to achieve them. The ethical standards motivate us to achieve them. Put a comma, whereas the ethical principles, either prescribe or proscribe, PROS, proscribe something. आपने देखा होगा ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में होता है कोड ऑफ एथिक्स. Organizations have code of ethics. On the basis of this code of ethics, they create a code of conduct. Have you seen that? The code of conduct is prescription or proscription. Like say for example, every employee shall contribute to a fair work environment. No employee should indulge in corruption. The first one prescription, the second one proscription. Do you understand that? And this is based on what? The value set of the organization. The standards that the organization wants to achieve for itself. Clear हो रही है बात? लिखो आगे. The actual motive, next bullet, the actual motive, action, behavior, etc. Actual motive, action, behavior, etc. is compared with the ethical standard. Compared with the ethical standard or principle, ethical standard or principle, to check its conformity. Check its conformity with the set of standards, conformity with the set of standards or principles, set of standards or principles. Or principles. And if the action, choice, motive, behavior, etc., if the action, choice, motive, behavior, etc., violates the ethical standard, violates ethical standard or choice, ethical standards or choice, it is declared as unethical. It is declared as unethical. Next bullet, right? Moral standards or principles, moral standards or principles make distinction between right and wrong, or good and bad, right and wrong, or good and bad. Put a full stop. Ethical standards and principles do the same thing. Ethical standards and principles do the same thing. Therefore, ethical decision making is practically moral decision making. Ethical decision making is practically moral decision making. Full stop. Therefore, put a comma, ethics is also known as moral philosophy. Ethics is also known as moral philosophy. Now, look at this. Look at this. Suppose this is an ethical set, and in this set we have large number of principles, P1, P2 up to PL, and standards S1, S2 up to SM. From where we have got these principles and standard? कोई source तो होगा. From where we have got this? बोलिए. What do you think? History, okay. From conscience or anything else? Okay, do you agree that there are multiple sources from where these principles and standards have been drawn? Say yes or no to that. Yes. So let's try to group them. The first important source is obviously the Constitution and law. Sometimes law also teaches us ethics. Say for example, the Right to Education or Right to Information Act taught us some ethics of transparent government. Sometimes Constitution or the, you can say, the deliberation over the constitutional provisions in the highest court teaches us some ethics. Like in the Justice Puttaswamy case, Supreme Court identified what? Right to privacy as a part of Article 21, inherent and ingrained in every individual, inalienable. हो गया ना ethics? Do you get it? So Constitution and law. Then can you understand religion and religious scriptures? From here also we draw some ethical inspiration. Like all the established religions of the world, they talk about helping others. So from there we can draw some ethics. Then think about society. Society, when I say, I mean social norms, the customs and the traditions. What is the difference between social norms, customs and traditions? Norm is actually short for normal. Means it is expected that while you are in the society, you will follow this standard of behavior. That is the norm. There can be exceptions under certain situations, but this is the norm. Like the norm is, you will not kill an innocent person. The exception could be, like you can, if your life is threatened. Do you understand that? Because the innocence element is then lost for that person who is threatening your life. Custom is something like, say for example, these are the practices in the society. In the Japanese society, you will see that there is a practice or custom of the tea ceremony. You go to a Japanese home, they will first give you tea. There is a tea room also in Japan. और आपको वो custom follow करना पड़ेगा if you are in Japan. Suppose if you are in India, if you go to a religious place, mostly say for example a temple, the custom is that you cannot go in with your shoes. Or when you see others, you do namaste or something like that. So these are customs. Do you understand that? All those customs which we have inherited from our forefathers become our traditions. So our customs, our traditions and our norms in the society can also become source for the ethical set. Then think about that the things that you learn in your home, so the education that you get from your home, from your school, college or say university, even in a professional institute, suppose आप कोई skill development program कर रहे थे वहाँ, vocational training, are you aware about that? आप कहीं कर रहे हो किसी factory में, suppose you learn something, suppose you joined the Tata group for a vocational training program at Tata Steel in Jamshedpur, and you learned about the work ethics of the Tata Steel employees, so that you ingrained in your ethical set. Then think of the thoughts of philosophers. That is also a big influence on our ethics. Like say for example, the thoughts of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam have inspired Indian ethics. The thoughts of Swami Vivekananda have inspired Indian ethics. And then another major source could be you yourself, your understanding of right and wrong. That is nothing but human conscience. Conscience is your inherent ability to distinguish between right and wrong, good and bad. उसके लिए कोई formal education नहीं लगता है कई बार. Like suppose you walk out of this hall today and while you are going on the road, you see that a 5-year-old is being mercilessly thrashed by few people. Will you go there and stop or not? Will you stop or not? Yes. Why? How did you? Constitution, law, ये सब कुछ समझने की जरूरत नहीं है उसके लिए. This is purely flowing from your conscience. Do you get this? These are the primary sources from where we draw the ethical set. ठीक है? तो इसको ऐसे diagrammatically ही लिखना. ठीक? ऊपर एक heading डालो. Source of ethical standards and principles. Source of ethical standards and principles. Source of ethical standards and principles. ठीक है, तो आप ऐसे कुछ एक डायग्राम आप अपनी क्रिएटिविटी भी दिखा सकते हैं, बट द होल थिंग इज दिस इज द एथिकल सेट. This is the ethical set and these are the sources. आप चलो एक एक लिखते जाओ. पहला बता रहा हूं हम, from the right we are coming like this in an anti-clockwise fashion. So first one, constitution and law. Constitution and law. Second, religion and religious scriptures. Religion and religious scriptures. Next, social norms, customs and traditions. Social norms, customs and tradition. Family, educational and professional institutions. Family, educational and professional institutions. Then thoughts of thinkers, philosophers and leaders. Thoughts of thinkers, philosophers and leaders. The next one, human conscience. Human conscience. ठीक है, यहाँ तक बात क्लियर हो गई. Now, can there be more sources? Yes, there can be definitely more sources. But these are the major sources from where we draw the ethical principles and the ethical standards. Okay. Now look here. Why do we need ethics? Let's answer that question. Why do you need ethics in the society? Come up with an answer for that. Why do we need ethics? अच्छा, एक चीज सुन. In my classes, try to speak. It has to be a two-way conversation. Okay. I don't care whether you are giving the right answer or not. I'm more interested in whether you are answering or not. ठीक है. बोलो, why do we need ethics? Raise your hands and speak. Yes, go on. Peace and social order in the society. Yes, that is the utility of ethics in the society. The utility of ethics in the society is to maintain and preserve social order. Now, what is social order? ध्यान से. Social order refers to a social order refers to a stable state of the society where everything is peaceful and going on very well. The opposite of social order is social disorder or chaos. Law and order में जो order है वो social order है. समझ में आ रहा है? तो social order होता क्या है actually? All societies, they dream of establishing, maintaining and then sustaining a stable state of society which is social order. Do you understand that? Social order is maintained when the social structure is accepted by everybody in the society. Otherwise, there will be a revolution. Social institutions are respected by everybody, and the social norms are enforced in the society. What is social structure? What is the structure of constitution? It means the arrangement of the various articles into parts and provisions. That is structure of the constitution. Structure of the society means how the society is basically arranged. Now, the arrangement of the society can be on the basis of class, religion, ethnicity, or any other variable. Modern societies are arranged on the basis of law. समझ में आ रहा है? Otherwise, in the French medieval society or Middle Ages society, late Middle Ages society, there were 3 classes, if you are aware about that: the feudal class, the aristocracy, and the people. And there was the clergy, which was also a part of the feudal class. So you get that? So social structure refers to the basic arrangement of the society, which could be on the basis of gender, religion, ethnicity, clan, class, even on the basis of law. सबसे अच्छा structure कौन सा होगा? Which is based on the basis of law. Do you understand that? Social institution refers to the established patterns of beliefs and relationships that guide social interaction. Like say for example, family is a social institution, marriage is a social institution. Social norms, as I said, these are the principles that the society has placed over itself and expects that everybody who is part of the society will follow it. So social order is maintained only when social structures are accepted, social institutions are respected, and social norms are properly enforced. The opposite of social order is social disorder. Now, how can social order be achieved? Social order can be achieved by a device called social control. Now, social control uses various tools. These tools could be sociological tools. This could be legal tools. This could be cultural tool, or it could be moral tool or moral tools. Look here, sociological tools, generally there are 2 types of sociological tools. First is socialization, and the second one is social sanction. What is socialization? Socialization is the process by which you are made aware about the social structure, social institutions, and social norms. And that's how you are made a part of the society, a person who is responsible citizen. Do you get that? Social sanction. Sanction is actually a punishment or a reward. Do you get that? Sanction is actually punishment or reward. It is given on the basis of your action or behavior in the society. Like say for example, people may boycott you if you destroy public property. People may praise you if you contribute by paying taxes. Do you get that? So social sanction is actually a kind of reward or punishment which the society gives. Depends upon whether the action or the behavior that you are undertaking is desirable or undesirable. Socialization is the process in which you are made aware about the social structure, social institution, and social norms, and you are encouraged to accept this, respect this, and follow this. That's a sociological tool. Sociologists deal with this. Legal tool क्या हो सकता है? Constitution and the various laws made under the constitution. Now, these generally function on the incentive punishment model. Saved a life, Rashtrapati Puraskar. Destroyed a life, jail. There is incentive or there is punishment. Do you understand that? Cultural tool could be like, say for example, religion. Religion is a part of culture, and there could be religious sanction as well. Do you get it? Like say for example, there is one particular person belonging to one particular religion, and he indulges in suppose a heinous crime like rape and murder. then people belonging to that religion may despise him. People may boycott him from the religious ceremonies. Do you understand that? So religion is also a powerful tool to bring social control and thereby establish social order. In fact, ancient societies, if you see, they used religion as the base of the society, because the law may create loopholes, and when the courts are not watching, God is watching. So you get that? And in that fashion, you would never indulge in anything which would be abhorrent or despicable or reprehensible morally. Moral tool. What is the moral tool? Ethics. Ethics is the moral tool to bring social. तो अगर ये क्वेश्चन आता है, what is the utility of ethics in society? It's the moral tool which establishes social order. समझ में आया? तो आईपीएस कहाँ पर रहते हैं? यहाँ पर रहते हैं मोस्टली. Do you understand that? बट अब यूपीएससी क्या कह रही है कि आईपीएस को यहाँ भी होना है और यहाँ भी होना है, तभी वो जाके ऑर्डर बना के रख सकते. Give a small subheading. This and one more small topic we'll do. After that, I'll leave you. Just give a heading: utility of ethics in society. Utility of ethics in society. Now, under that, you write first bullet: all societies try to establish and maintain. All societies try to establish and maintain social order. Social order. Put social order into single inverted commas. Put a full stop. Social order refers to a stable state of society. Social order refers to a stable state of society where, stable state of society where, put a hyphen and then write as A, B, C, A. Social structures are accepted. Social structures are accepted. B. Social institutions are respected. Social institutions are respected. And C. Social norms are enforced. Social norms are enforced. Write the next bullet. Social structure refers to the basic arrangement of a society. Social structure refers to the basic arrangement of a society. On the basis of education, on the basis of education, clan, class, ethnicity, religion, law, etc. Okay, now look here. I'm making a statement. You say yes or no to that. Social structure impacts social relations and social mobility. Put a full stop. Social structures impact social relations and social mobility. Social structures impact social relations and social mobility. Next bullet. Social institutions are the established patterns. Social institutions are the established patterns. Social institutions are the established patterns of beliefs and relationships. Patterns of beliefs and relationships that organize social life. That organize social life. Put a full stop. Social institutions shape social institutions shape and put constraints, shape and put constraints. Constraints means limitations. Put constraints over individual behavior. Individual behavior. Example, family, marriage, etc. Family, marriage, etc. Next, social norms. Social norms are standards of, social norms are standards of acceptable behavior. Social norms are standards of acceptable behavior acknowledged by individuals, acknowledged by individuals and groups, acknowledged by individuals and groups. Okay, can I say this? Social norms are actually prescriptions. They are prescriptions by the society for you. Like you go to a medical doctor, gives you a prescription. Social norms are actually prescriptions by the society for you. So put a full stop and continue that statement. Social norms act like prescriptions for the people. Social norms act like prescriptions for the people and help them in regulating their behavior, and help them in regulating their behavior, regulating their behavior in the society. The society. Now change the ink, make a star and write social order is established and maintained. Social order is established and maintained through a device known as, social control. Social control. After that, you make this diagram with me, flow chart type diagram. Sociological tool, legal tools, cultural tools, and moral tools. Here you can write the two sociological tools that are used generally is socialization and social sanction. Legal tools that are used is ordinary and constitutional law. Cultural tool is religion and customs, religious customs, rituals, etc. Moral tool is morality and ethics. This is social control, and this helps in preserving social order. ठीक है? Now write few bullets quickly under this. Socialization is the process. Socialization is the process through which individuals, socialization is the process through which individuals learn to behave. Individuals learn to behave in a way, that is acceptable, to the society. Put a full stop. Through socialization, individuals gain knowledge about social structures, institutions and norms. Social structures, institutions and norms. Next bullet. A sanction is a reward or a punishment. A sanction is a reward or a punishment with respect to action, comma, attitude, appearance or behavior. Attitude, action, appearance or behavior. Now, can I say this? Look here. Social sanctions are actually reactions from others. Social sanctions are actually reaction from others. And this is not only on your action, attitude and behavior, but also at times on your appearance. Because there is ethics of the institution. Like say for example, you cannot go into the UPSC personality test in your pajamas. Can you? Because you will be violating. Suppose, can you join the army saying that you will have a hippie haircut? Put a full stop and continue that. Social sanctions are reactions from others. Social sanctions are reactions from others. Put a comma. Such reactions can be either positive or negative. Put a full stop. For example, ridicule for destroying public assets. Ridicule for destroying public assets. And praise for contributing during disasters. Praise for contributing during disasters. Now look here. Do you people have the time to carry for 10 more minutes? Do you people have the time to do that? Do you have the energy? Be ethical. Do you have the energy? Then we continue this. Okay. So dekho, think of this. Just think of a child. A child, like say just 4-month-old. Say a baby boy or a baby girl, something like a child. Now you visit the child. What would you say? The child is social or unsocial? What would you say? Child is social or unsocial? Or you would say the child is antisocial? What would you say? Now look here. What do you mean by a social person? A social person is one who has knowledge about the society. Knowledge about the society का मतलब ये होता है knowledge about social structure, social institution and social norm. And it's socially convenient. Convenient मतलब लोगों को अच्छा लगता है वो आदमी. Do you understand that? An unsocial person is one who has knowledge about the society, social structure, social institution, social norm, but is socially inconvenient. लोगों को अच्छे नहीं लगते. Yeah, and then there is something called antisocial. Antisocial is one who is against the society, wants to destroy the social structures, social norms, and violate the social institutions. Do you understand that? Law is always hunting what? Antisocial elements, not unsocial. Unsocial को law never, bothers them. Law always bothers the antisocial people. मैं आपको एग्जाम्पल दे रहा हूँ. सोशल ऐसे हो सकते हैं आप कि सपोज यू आर प्लानिंग अ ट्रिप, कि बहुत पढ़ाई लिखाई हो गई, चलो घूम के आते हैं. सो द पर्सन होम यू विल बज फर्स्ट फ्रॉम योर फोन बुक इन योर फ्रेंड लिस्ट, कि सबसे पहला मैसेज इन्हीं को जाएगा, दैट पर्सन इज सोशल. समझ में आ रहा है? बिकॉज ही पार्टिसिपेट्स एंथुजियास्टिकली इन एवरी सोशल काइंड ऑफ गैदरिंग और कोहेजन. और समझ लो एक ऐसा आदमी बैठा हुआ है घर पे, जो आज घर में ये बोला गया है कि देयर विल बी नो डिनर कुक्ड टुडे बिकॉज वी हैव अ सेरेमनी in the neighborhood, marriage ceremony, so we'll attend that, all the people will eat in that ceremony. तो एक आदमी घर पे बोलता है कि मेरे लिए खिचड़ी बना देना, मैं नहीं जा रहा, ठीक है, मुझे नहीं अच्छा लगता इतना शोर शराबा. That person has knowledge about marriage and marriage ceremonies and the feast that comes with it, but does not want to participate in it. So that person is unsocial. ऐसे बहुत सारे होते हैं unsocial लोग. Unsocial people you would see that they will discourage. Have you all seen that sitcom in India, तारक मेहता का उल्टा चश्मा? पोपटलाल पता है, वो है अनसोशल, कैंसिल कर देता है वो सब कुछ, पता है ना. एंटी सोशल कौन? कि बस में बैठे हैं, जा रहे हैं, ब्लेड निकाला, सीट काट दी, ठीक है. Do you understand? You got to stay in a 5-star hotel, साबुन चुरा लिया. Antisocial. Do you get that? Antisocial people are potential criminals. They get the incentive to perform different kind of crimes. What about the child? The child is definitely not social. Does not know, has no knowledge about the society. अगर social नहीं है तो unsocial होने का कोई chance नहीं बनता. Antisocial तो ये depend करता है कि father and mother how they are raising him or her. But generally, you would say is not antisocial as well. Understand that? The child is asocial. Asocial means has no knowledge about the society, ignorant about the social structure, institution and social norms, or is neutral towards the society. Neither says yes nor says no. आप किसी 4 महीने के बच्चे को जाकर बोलो कि मैंने यूपीएससी टॉप कर लिया, तो वैसे पकड़ लेगा. Has no meaning of what you have achieved. Okay, or you say I have murdered today, then also he will hold you or she will hold you. Do you understand that? They're innocent. What is socialization? It's the journey of taking one person from the asocial state to social state. That's the device of social contact. Do you understand that? So, writes few things. ऐसे लिखो, एक heading दो, socialization. 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 Under that, you create some bullets. First, social. Social, put a hyphen. One who has knowledge. One who has knowledge about the society. One who has knowledge about the society. And the person is socially convenient. Person is socially convenient. Second bullet, unsocial. Put a hyphen and write. One who has knowledge about the society. One who has knowledge about the society. And that person is socially inconvenient. That person is socially inconvenient. Next bullet, antisocial. Antisocial, asamajik से कहते हैं. Antisocial, put hyphen and write. One who is against the society and through their behavior, and through their behavior cause annoyance and disapproval in others. Cause annoyance and disapproval in others. Next, you write asocial, asocial, a-social, asocial. Put a hyphen and write one who is isolated, ignorant, or neutral towards the society. Isolated, ignorant, or neutral towards the society. Towards the society. Now make a star, change the ink and write socialization is the journey from asocial to social. Socialization is the journey from asocial to social. ठीक है, एक लास्ट चीज करेंगे and then I'll leave you. Why people behave in an unethical manner? Let's try to answer that question now. Give a heading. Why people behave in an unethical manner? Unethical manner. उसमें कुछ चीजें तो मैं आपको बता ही चुका हूं. Like say for example, habitually inclined, or there is the greed quotient or the pleasure element, ignorant, etc. तो bullet wise लिखते जाओ. ठीक है, first bullet, habitual inclination. Habitual inclination. In bracket you write inherent in their actions, behavior and attitude. Inherent in their actions, comma, behavior and attitude. Close the bracket. Second bullet, selfishness. Selfishness. In bracket you write greed quotient or the pleasure element. Greed quotient or the pleasure element. Close the bracket. Okay, you tell me, if there are legal loopholes, does that encourage someone to behave in an unethical manner? Next you write legal loopholes. Legal loopholes. In bracket you write complex structure. Complex structure. Semicolon. Easy to evade the law. Easy to evade the law. We heard about this. Double taxation avoidance agreements. उसमें legal loophole है या नहीं है? That's how tax havens के through route करके foreign investment आ रहा है. Unethical है या नहीं है? क्योंकि आप tax बचा रहे हो. Next point you write weak institutions. Weak institutions. Weak institutions से क्या मतलब है? Toothless organizations, undue delays, all those kind of things. So put a bracket and write within that. Toothless or inefficient body. Toothless or inefficient body. Weak enforcement. Weak enforcement, undue delays. Weak enforcement, undue delays. Close the bracket. Like, have you heard about this? National Human Rights Commission. Sometimes it prepares the report but is not able to take the action that encourages the violators of human rights. Or have you heard about this? National Commission for Women. समझ में आ रहा है? देखो next. Absence of checks and balances. Absence of checks and balances. What do we mean by that? Concentration of all the power in one hand. Dictators होते हैं mostly ऐसे. In bracket you write concentration of power in few hands. Concentration of power in few hands. तो आपको मैंने बता दिया ignorance. Ignorance is also a reason. Next bullet, ignorance. Ignorance about what? About the laws, rules, regulations, guidelines, etc. So in bracket you write about laws, rules, regulations, etc. Next, unfair society. Next, unfair society. In bracket you can write socio economic and political discrimination. Latin expression ignorantia juris non excusat. इसका मतलब ignorance of the law is no excuse. समझ रहे हो? तो ऐसा नहीं है मुझे क्या मालूम कि इंटरेस्ट पे करना होता है बैंक को, ईएमआई देना होता है, मुझे नहीं मालूम. देन यू कैन नॉट क्लेम इम्यूनिटी अंडर दैट. एक और एक्सप्रेशन होता है ऐसा ही कुछ, ignorantia legis neminem excusat. Both mean the same thing. ठीक है? So make a star and write this. In law, put a comma, ignorantia juris non excusat. In law, ignorantia juris non excusat. Juris non excusat. In bracket you write Hello, audible? So we started with the definition of ethics, and we understood that ethics refers to the positive traits in our character which get developed over a period of time when we repeatedly perform right actions over and over again. Then we read a standard definition of ethics. It's actually a set of principles and standards which a social group, society, or an institution or organization places over itself, in the light of which human thoughts, motives, choices, actions, behavior, etc. are judged from the standpoint of right, wrong, good, bad, appropriateness, inappropriateness. Then we understood that actually law treats things differently and ethics treat things differently. We also understood that what is the model of ethical decision making, and ethical decision making is actually moral decision making. Therefore, ethics is also known as moral philosophy. Then we understood what are the different sources from where ethics or the ethical set draws its principles and standard: law and constitution, society, educational institution, religion and religious scriptures, then social norms, customs and traditions, human conscience, thoughts of philosophers. Then we also understood that what is the utility of ethics. The utility of ethics is to preserve social order through social control, and it has several facets: sociological tools, legal tools, cultural tools, and moral tool. Ethics is the moral tool that help in the preservation of social order. तो एक line लिखो, ethics is the moral tool that helps in the preservation of social order. Ethics is the moral tool that helps in the preservation of social order. ठीक है? And then we understood what do we mean by socialization, social control, what is social, unsocial, antisocial, asocial. We understood all of that. And then we also understood why people behave in an unethical manner, and we read a dictum called ignorantia juris non excusat, ignorantia legis neminem non excusat. ठीक है? Excusat. एक चीज देखो, that ignorance about the justice system, ignorance about the law is not an excuse. आप ये नहीं बोल सकते कहीं पे चोरी करने के बाद that I was not aware that theft is actually considered as a crime in this society. I was not aware about that. I thought that it's just an action. So you understand that? So now ask your questions. I'll also take the questions of those who have submitted it online. So I'll take one offline question and then one online question. Alternatively, we'll go like that. So raise your hands and ask your question. If you cannot think of any right now, I'll start with the online thing. So I have to go back, and at the rate GSK says, sir, kindly show and present us toppers, mark sheets and questions on board. We missed it. Regards, Santosh Kumar. So we will try that one more time. Let's check. I think the overall resolution, okay, it takes time. Okay. So meanwhile, as it happens, yes, any questions from your side? सब कुछ समझ में आ गया, सारी चीजें समझ में आ गई, बड़ा अच्छा बैच मिला है मुझे. Yes, be louder dear. Yes, yes. Hmm. Hmm. Yes, yes, yes. Because ethics is always time and space dependent, not independent. You understand that? So in that time, in that space, even Galileo was called as a heretic. Do you understand that? Hearsay was so common. See, we have heard the prophecy of several lunatics calling it the will of God, isn't it? So it all depends upon time and space, dear. Do you understand that? That's why I said that you have to have a kind of a liberal mind, rational mind, and आपको सोचते रहना पड़ेगा, continuum approach आपको adopt करना पड़ेगा, ठीक है? Okay, but time for one. Okay, here you see I have got the marks. So this, I'll just read out the names. I think in this fashion we'll be able to understand it. Takes time. But anyhow, let me take any other question. Okay, so Rahul says to maintain social order. So these are mostly not related questions, simple questions. Okay, Vinay asks, sir, please repeat last few lines from Latin phrase as voice was cutting during the dictation. So it was ignorantia juris non excusat. It means ignorance of the law is not an excuse. So देखो यहाँ पे this is Pradeep Singh who scored 157 in GS paper 4. Look at the other papers. अगर आप देखो, this is one proof that you get more than 125. Aditya has scored 143 in GS paper 4. Then Ananya had scored 136, again more than, I'm only showing you the 125 plus, 120 से ऊपर तो बहुत मिल जाएंगे, ठीक है? Then maybe this one. Okay, Siddharth has scored 127, though I expected he will score more, but anyhow, never mind. 127 is also not bad. Then Khushali has scored 136. Then if you see Uma has scored around 132 or something around that, or 132 plus. Anyhow, let me take one more question meanwhile. If you have any questions, please go on. Please feel free to ask your questions. So these are mostly the questions which I can feel, I can see. If there are questions, any question. So you see Uma has scored also 132. Then if we go to Rahul's marks, 125. And finally, if this is, I think, Pratyush has also scored more than 140 or something like that. So 146, Pratyush. So these are examples, living examples कि हाँ ये possible है. आप दूसरे subjects में देखो और ethics में marks देखो, ज़मीन आसमान का फर्क है toppers का, because the other subjects are a complex of various subjects. Ethics is only one subject, can be mastered. Do you understand that? It's difficult that the same person will master history, geography, society, economy, polity, etc. But the same person can master, I mean one person can master ethics. और सबसे अच्छी बात मैं आपको बताऊं, एथिक्स की कोई बुक है, और ये सबसे बड़ा ब्लेसिंग है, क्योंकि बुक होता तो रट्टू आ जाते, आपको बताया, रट लेते वो, ठीक है? एथिक्स में कोई आपको पीछे नहीं कर सकता अगर आपकी प्रिपरेशन ठीक है. दैट्स द थिंग दैट यू हैव टू कीप इन माइंड. ओके, द होल आइडिया ऑफ us holding this program is to help you to score more than 125 plus. ठीक है? There are few books that I'll show you. First one is the 70 Thinkers, 70 Thoughts. It deals with the 5th unit. Then you have got the theoretical framework that deals with all the other units apart from the 5th unit. Then there is this compendium of core thoughts. अगर आपको ये 70 Thinkers, 70 Thoughts बहुत भारी लगता है तो बस इतना पढ़ लो, तब भी बहुत, ठीक है? You'll be able to score more. Then there is A to Z glossary of ethics. This is what I feel can be a substitute for the lexicon. In fact, has more ideas than the lexicon. And then this is the ethics snippets. अगर समझ लो आपको नहीं टाइम मिल रहा है पूरा theoretical framework पढ़ने का, तो आप उसका एक summary पढ़ सकते हो. Summary can help. And there is one more 6th book, which is the ethics case study workbook, where you have 100 case studies in that, and we will be solving all of that in the class. I assure you, simple subject है. अच्छा देखो, आज पढ़ के कैसा लगा? अच्छा लगा? अगर आपको थोड़ा डर भी लगता होगा एथिक्स से लेकर, या अगर इंजीनियरिंग बैकग्राउंड हो या साइंस बैकग्राउंड हो, सोशल साइंसेस का बैकग्राउंड ना हो, तब भी यू कैन हैंडल दिस. डू यू फील सो नाउ? ओके, सो दिस इज वेयर वी, यस, गो ऑन डियर, गो ऑन. Go one more time, dear. I missed some of it. Yes, you can always use any kind of code to justify. But the only thing is, देखो ethics में मैंने बताया आपको कुछ भी सही कुछ भी गलत नहीं, सब कुछ सही और सब कुछ गलत है. Depends upon whether you can defend it or not. Ethics is about building, systematizing, defending and recommending what principles and standards. Do you get it? The whole thing is revision and the daily practice paper that I will give you. Today you will get one. So take it, write it and then keep it with you. जो भी हम क्लास में पढ़ते चलेंगे वो DPP में आपके वो होते रहेगा, summarize होता रहेगा. तो in question answer format also you will have one more option to revise. तो notes भी होंगे, सिर्फ notes भी पढ़ लोगे तो हो जाएगा. But I'm saying कि notes तो सब पढ़ते हैं and every year I give notes. The whole thing is if you want to score a little bit more than others, then you must make that extra effort. By the way, I am available now for meeting you people. If anybody interested can meet me in person. Thank you very much. That was my class.